Yeah, they hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out. Yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment. I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly. I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate. Elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate. Elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate. Elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate. Yeah, I had to elevate. I'm way too fly. Yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they want to come take my place? I work too hard for it, don't need a replacement. This my vocation, now I got rollies, all in rotation. Hop on a jet just to take a vacation. Remember the moments was trapped in the basement. Now the hard work is all taking me places. Swatting all black like we trapped in the matrix. Bet on myself and go ball out in Vegas. Living a life like I'm rich and I'm famous. Don't see the grind that I know that it came with. I ain't make it this far for myself, yeah. I had to prove to everybody else. I had to set them straight. Yeah, I had to ball, so I had to renovate. I know they hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out. Yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment. I swear I could levitate. They never believed. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate. Elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate. Elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate.
Yeah. Salute. Oh, we only 4 deep this morning. We creeping this morning. Salute, Jackie Hernandez. We still in the building. Salute, Queen. How you doing, man? Yep. Sorry about yesterday, guys. Had a doctor's appointment. Had some things I had to do. Occupied my morning time. But we are back at it again. Building on the back end of a press conference yesterday with David Morrell and David Benavidez. The undercard fights there. Obviously coming off of a crazy weekend as far as boxing is concerned. Controversial in some points, but a lot of competitive fights as well during the weekend. Salute to everybody in the building. Please remember to hit the likes as you come in the building. Salute Fly Frequency in the building. Salute. Ray Davis should be up here in some time in the next few or so. So we'll be talking to him as well. Salute YG Knight in the building. Salute. Man, a lot going on, man. A lot going on in the boxing. You know, we had our Monday night show yesterday. Had a great show with Blue Blood. Talked about a couple things that I thought was some interesting conversation we had yesterday, me and Blue Blood, in reference to Jake Paul. And I see the whole entire boxing space is really consumed with Jake Paul and what he did. And I mean, we got to say that it was probably expected, right? It was probably expected. The fight was controversial, to say the least, and Jake Paul's going to get a lot of attention, a lot of negative attention for it, and pressure naturally is going to come to Jake Paul to do something. We're going to talk about that as well. David Benavidez and David Morrell had their press conference official announcement February 1st. Their card kicks off, got some fights on the card we can go over. I think they had a pretty good card. People are pushing back at the whole pay-per-view concept, but come on, guys, it's the PBC. If PBC is going to put out an event, it's probably going to be pay-per-view. And no shots at the PBC, but we just should understand the way they roll out their fights, and that, you know, normally these fights are going to be 9 out of 10 times pay-per-view fights. I think the card is very competitive. I think we have some great fights on that card. And David Benavidez and David Morrell obviously being the headliner, a fight that the fans were asking for. Right nowadays, you gotta be happy, and you gotta celebrate anytime the fighters are giving you the fights that you want to see. And that's what we got happening in front of us here with David Morrell and David Benavidez, and a great undercard as well. Why'd you say they still trying to make it seem like Tyson was forced to fight? Yeah, Jackie, you know, they're going to do that, right? They're going to try to push Mike Tyson in some sort of victim role. They want him to be somebody who's taking advantage of poor Mike. I think we expected these type of things to come about, but it didn't change the outcome, right? The outcome is that Netflix had a huge rollout, that they had record-breaking viewership, record-breaking people in the stadium, in Dallas Cowboys Stadium, 70,000 plus people in the stadium to see this event. And that undercard of the event was an exciting competitive undercard, real good, and that was good for boxing. Those fighters on that undercard got an opportunity to get exposure in a way that they weren't guaranteed to ever get exposure like that on any other platform or any platform, at least in their history that they've done before. This was probably the most exposure that they've had. So the event opened up and rolled out a whole new era in boxing, and we can talk about that in this show as well, just as far as how it was promoted, as far as Netflix and most valuable promotions strategy, bringing in a lot of content creators, you know, the likes of Punch Drunk Boxing and Showbiz and other people who I'm not too familiar with. They implemented a whole lot of social media in this particular event, and I think the outcome, all those factors contributed to that outcome. So we're looking at a new era of promoting boxing and pushing boxing, and maybe a whole different demographic of casual fan base who normally just follows Jake Paul got an opportunity to see some competitive fights. Those fights like Mario Barrios versus Abel Ramos and Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano got to show those fans competitive boxing, and hopefully they enjoyed it, and they're looking forward to see more from Netflix, and Netflix will move accordingly, right? Salute to Here for Boxing, my guy Here for Boxing in the building. Dante Boxing Talk, salute King. Markley, March 1st, Tank Davis versus Roach fight. Tank fans was asking for, LOL. Yeah, Dante, we're going to definitely talk about that as well, right? So the rumor is that the fight is going to be in Barclays, right? We kind of understood, if you check the schedule at the Toyota Super Center, that fight wasn't going to happen on March 1st in Houston. People were also screaming for the fight to happen in the DMV. From what I understand, research was done that the biggest arena in the DMV was not going to be available on March 1st. And I don't think Tank really wanted that fight to happen out there. I think the DMV situation can be hostile. I think it can be hostile, and people are trying to avoid anything negative to affect the brand of the PBC as well as Gervonta Tank Davis. And it looks like Barclays Center is going to get the love. Barclays Center used to be one of those spots, right? It used to be a spot for big events by the PBC, so they'll be returning home in many ways, especially for Gervonta. He's had a lot of success in that arena. New York will show up for that fight. Is it the fight the fans are asking for? I mean, listen, man, we're beating a dead horse, right? Clearly, no. I know I'm not asking for that fight. Most people who I know aren't asking for that fight. But, listen, it seems like they're dead set on making it happen. At this point in the game, activity is better than no activity, right? Because one thing with me personally is I hate watching these fighters collect dust on the shelves. I think it doesn't do anything for their brand. It does nothing for boxing. I want to see them active. So if that's what Tank is going to do, we got to accept it at this point that's what it's going to be. How will the boxing space embrace or react to this fight via pay-per-view sales and things of that nature? Time will tell that story. Hindsight is always better than foresight when it comes to those conversations. But let's hurry up and get it done, in my opinion. Let's get past it. And hopefully Tank Davis can get involved in some bigger fights that the fans are asking for, and we can get over this moment. And hopefully Lamont Roach benefits off of the eyes that are going to be on him. Hopefully he looks great that night and he's able to do great things, because I'm eager, to be honest with you, to see Lamont Roach head back down to 130. And I want to see him compete down there with the champions down there. I want to see him participate in some unification title fights. I want to see him, I see Raymond Ford pulling up in the division. Rumors of Rafael Espinoza leaving 126 after he fights with Robesi Ramirez to come up in 130. And I think there's a lot of great big fights for Lamont Roach to get involved in at the 130-pound weight class division. So, yes. Tank Davis, seems like the announcement, according to Steven Espinoza and Leonard Ellaby, they're expecting to roll out an announcement in the next coming weeks, according to interviews that they said. And we'll see. Also, I'm very interested in seeing what the undercard is going to be for that fight, right? And very interested in seeing what kind of fights they're going to put on the undercard as well. So waiting on them, and when they drop it and I find out, I'll drop it to you guys, right? What's going on in the super chat? Shout out to JR Spock's in the building, man. Salute, King. Greetings, y'all. Signing in from my new computer setup. All right, J Spock. I already know that means everything is running smooth. Salute to XL in the building. Salute, King. XL, because Tank is in PBC protective custody. At times, it does seem like that, right, XL? It does look like that at times from the outside looking in. And not only PBC protective custody, but Tank fan base protective custody, right? They defend a lot of stuff and accept a lot of things, and they're quick to attack, right? to attack anybody who questions the matchmaking made over there. You know, they're very loyal fan base, very supportive, very loyal fan base. You got to celebrate them for that, man. A lot of fighters in the game would kill to have a fan base like Tank's fan base. You know what I mean? Me personally, I just think that kind of fan base deserves to be rewarded with better fights, you know, better matchmaking, things of that nature, maybe even a little interaction with the social media community that supports you. You know, I support you, but I might not look like I support you, but there are people out there who straight up support, like, you know, you can see they support you, and they deserve a little bit more support, I think, on the social media side. So we'll see what that looks like. Let me see here. What's it here for boxing? Say, Clay, I have a question. Let me scroll down and see what the question is. Why are PBC fans okay with Morrell? 11 fights versus Benavidez. Let me put it up on the screen here, man. Hold on a second here. Let me put it up. That way we all can see it, right? He says, why are PBC fans okay with Morrell? 11 fights versus Benavidez, 29 fights. But say Keyshawn, 11 fights, doesn't have enough fights for a Tank fight who has 30 fights. Can someone help me out? Laugh your ass off, right? Yeah, man, look, nobody's ever accused these fans of being really unbiased, right? What's good for the goose is never good for the gander. Keyshawn Davis, who's getting ready to fight for a title, a lot of people are going to push back on him. You know, even though he's in his next fight is going to be for a WBO title, they make it sound insane that Keyshawn Davis would even think about calling Tank Davis out, right? They think it's ludicrous. He doesn't have enough fights. They want to put their foot on his neck and say that he should stay in line. He could be attacked, verbally attacked on social media, but can't defend himself in the way he should defend himself, which is, I'm a boxer, you're a boxer. You've insulted me. You're taking shots at me. The best way for us to figure it out is inside the ring, right? And that's not happening. They're mad at that. They think he shouldn't do that. He should just take it over the head like a good little boy and stay in his lane, and Tank should be able to do whatever he does. So you don't look to them as far as credible, unbiased takes. We don't look to that community to do that when it comes to the conversation of Tank Davis. They've claimed their loyalties and they put it out there. I respect it. You know what I mean? I definitely respect it. That's how you feel. I know who you are. And no negative, respectfully, but you know, if you're unbiased if you're biased when it comes to this conversation, the credibility kind of goes away a little bit, because we know that no matter how it comes out, you're never going to say anything negative about your fighter, right? Jackie Hernandez says, I could see if they were like 4 events deep and still had problems with buffering, then that's a problem. Okay, Jackie, I'm assuming you're speaking towards the actual Netflix event, as far as everybody at home's experience, the experience of everybody at home. Yeah, man, look, these big events will do this, right? Clearly the event, we know Netflix to be a reputable streaming based platform. We don't know them to be not reputable. So if you see something like that happening, I think it's clear to say a few things. One, the event obviously was super successful and a lot of people were trying to tap in to see the event, right? That's one important thing. The second thing is that, you know, this is not a live stream really based platform. Netflix really, you know, it has movies just kind of stored on there and you pick whatever you want to watch. They're not really the live guys, right? Like Amazon Prime does with they have access to live, like football, and they kind of have their foot in the game already when it comes to this. So they got to make some adjustments. They didn't anticipate it. In many ways, the network crashing is a good thing, right? Because that showed Netflix the possibilities, the potential for what boxing can bring to their platform, and that's always a good thing. So yeah, the experience for us at home was a little choppy, very difficult to watch all the fights. Some of the fights you guys might have had to catch on the replay, things of that nature, but very fixable issues. But I think promising, to say the least, as far as what to expect. As far as what to expect in the future with Netflix and boxing. Hopefully Netflix looks at it the same way, right? Hopefully they look at it as promising, and they think it's worth the investment of time and obviously resources and money into fixing those problems and continuing the move forward with the boxing community. Let's see here, scrolling down. Oh, shout out Echo in the building. Echo doing that live doing the fight, calling the fights on Friday with Blue Blood. It was awesome having you up there, man. It's always awesome having you on these panels, man. Such a huge contributor as far as information and moving the boxing culture forward by reminding us where we came from, what it used to be, the great days, really being available for us to give us information like that, remind us what this sport could be in its greatest era, in its greatest time, right? All right. Salute to Hunter Young in the building as well. Right. I think he's here. I think he's here, ladies and gentlemen. Salute to my co-host.
What up, everybody? What up? What up? What up? Peace. What's happening? Love everybody. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button, support the channel. If you haven't joined, join us. Become a member. When the exclusives come out, you're going to want to be a member. But at the end of the day, I'm blessed. Clay's blessed. You are all blessed. We're all here today. And we're all going to enjoy this boxing talk.
No doubt, man, Ray, for sure, man. We got to join. So much boxing to talk about. I think this year's been a great year of boxing, man. Absent the PBC wasn't as present as they were the year before, obviously, with their rollout with Amazon and things of that nature. But we had a lot of other promotional companies and newcomers to the space that were able to fill it. You got something playing in the background I can hear. Or somebody, I don't know. Maybe that was me, but you muted yourself. All right. Yeah, a lot of great things that happened this year. A lot of great fights. And it looks like the year's going to end off with Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. And this weekend right here was a great weekend of boxing. As far as the next big event, that is, there's events that's going to happen in between, right? We got Hitchinson and Liam Paro and a bunch of other fights that are going to be coming around as well. So let me not act like this is going to be the last fight of the year. Ray forgot he had more. Yo, crazy. You wild here for boxing. You wild. You out of pocket. Shout out to my guy Rollo Green in the I hope everything has been great with you, man, and everything's been working out for you. But yeah, man, we just coming off the back end of a press conference yesterday with David Benavidez and David Morrell. Interesting conversation once again yesterday on Blues Channel about that fight. Going into this fight, I was thinking to myself, David Benavidez brings in the experience, obviously, and he has the better resume as far as a professional resume is concerned, and the amount of competition, the kind of competition he's fought, I would say is a higher level of competition than David Morrell, right? But at the same time, shout out to the chat in the community. We're watching boxing. Everybody has like different perspectives on the sport. And somebody shared a perspective with me. I think, Ray, you might have even been trying to share the perspective a little bit on Monday night when we were talking about this. But it did make me think, right? Speaking on what David Morrell brought to the table, the issues that David Morrell could bring to a David Benavidez. David Benavidez is not the monster to David Morrell. David Morrell is the same size, maybe even bigger than David Benavidez, and I think more of a naturally strong in the light heavyweight division than David Benavidez is potentially. Brings a very decorated background as far as amateurs are concerned. I think about 48 to 50 fights in his amateurs, and knowing that amateur background coming out of that Cuban background, the amateur Cuban scene is very celebrated. They have so much great product coming out of there, right? You have people like Andy Cruz and Edwin De Los Santos and fighters like that are coming out of there. And sometimes with fighters with those type of amateur backgrounds, sometimes their accomplishments are a little bit covered up a little bit because you see they only have 11 fights as professionals, and you're like, man, this guy doesn't have an experience. But as we can tell, history tells, especially this year, when you look at Israel Majimov, when you look at Karen Kakajugan, I can't say his name, I'm sorry, and a lot of the Eastern European fighters this year who have come into the boxing space, and they look like nobody knows who they are, but that amateur background manifests into some great fights when they get inside the ring. And David Morrell, falls underneath that category. He's had, on paper, really, if you count his amateur background, some might say he has more fights than David Benavidez. David Benavidez also not as disciplined outside the ring as people might want him to be. You know what I mean? Not, respectfully, of course. David Benavidez, everybody knows it's not hidden that he doesn't mind having a good time drinking. He's been caught up in other things in his career. And he hasn't been as active as I think as he would like to be. So him moving his whole entire camp from Seattle all the way down to Miami, to a party city, a city that's up all night, drinking, partying is available, a lot of celebrity recreational activities out there for him to partake in, and looking at him even in his little mock face-off that they did a little green room mock face-off where David Benavidez kind of had that dad bod, right? He doesn't look like he's been tapped in to preparing to be a boxer in those type of things. I'm sure between now and February 1st, he will get his act together. But David Morrell, you know what I'm saying, maybe hungry. He's a strong puncher. He understands on how to work mid-range boxing, and David Benavidez, a come forward type of boxer, kind of plays into David Morrell's strategy a little bit as far as what he does. And it does have me thinking, and has this fight definitely at a 50-50, right? David Benavidez no longer has an edge for me. I'm not saying David Benavidez is the favorite anymore. I think it's a 50-50 fight, and it's about who can implement their will in this fight. But Ray, I'm gonna throw it to you, man. What do you think about it? We're thinking all those things. What do you think about this fight?
Absolutely. Thank you for remembering what I said on Monday. First of all, I would like to thank Here for Boxing for letting me use his account before I logged in. But anyway, back to boxing.
Yeah, you gotta put me on that. That was about
Yeah, no, it's a joke. No, he's his comment earlier about what I was supposedly watching. Anyway, I just want to say that, you know, everything you hit is a nail on the head. Benavidez obviously is a game changer. He's one of those guys that like to mass his weight to lose weight to come back in heavy. If you want to say he's a weight bully, I can see where Canelo is now coming from. It looks like he actually puts on weight to smother his opponent. His first fight at light heavyweight, he wasn't able to increase his size and things of that nature. But it looks like this is a fun thing he's playing called the mind game. And it may not work for him because he knows he's with a puncher now. You know, he's in a different division. He may need to put on the weight to keep himself from getting dropped or clipped. Again, I mentioned Monday that our brother David Morrell is a very good boxer. Has he displayed that at light heavyweight or throughout most of his matches? Absolutely not, because he's been a straight come forward guy, and he's been able to land a big shot at will. But don't forget, David Morrell has boxed in certain situations. He has put his footwork into play. He does have an amateur background, great amateur background. He is a tremendous boxer. A lot of people sleep on that skill set, and he actually had to come out a little bit when he fought his last fight with the Serbian gentleman, Hot Rod. And he had to box. He got to a point where he had to. Hot Rod was forcing him to box, and it looked uncomfortable for him. David Benavidez can take advantage of that. The problem is David Benavidez is a volume puncher. And when you're a volume puncher, that means you stand in the kitchen, in Hell's Kitchen or the kettle or the coffee pot, right? So he's standing in the kettle and he's going to fight Morrell. And Morrell loves these type of fights. He likes guys that's going to stand in front of him, and he likes guys that's going to be in range of his hooks and power punches. 50-50, no. I give David Morrell a good 60-40, maybe 55-45, but definitely Morrell is the guy that I see winning this fight. I don't see much footwork with David Benavidez. I don't see much movement, especially at the light heavyweight division where he's putting on weight to try to survive a fight like this and be able to absorb some punches. It's really crazy. To even think that Benavidez has a chance. I know that everybody wants to bring it to the Caleb Plant fight. Yes, he's a boxer. Yes, he probably has a chin. Yes, he probably could take a punch, but he hasn't fought David Morrell. He hasn't really.
Are you saying it's crazy to say David Benavidez has a chance? Is that what you said?
No, I said it's crazy to see that he can't put on weight to try to survive in this type of atmosphere.
Okay.
He's definitely he's definitely trying to absorb the that's why he looks the way he does. He's trying to be able to absorb some of these shots, bro. He's not crazy. You know what I mean? He's going to go up to 220 pounds probably, so he can increase his size. Now his activities and things of that nature outside the ring, yeah, that's always been a problem. Reason why he's not the champion, the reason why he never got that fight with Canelo, the reason why he's always been on the back end of the straps, as they would say down at 68, 70, 67. So now wherever he is, yeah, you know what I mean. Sorry, 65, 75, 60, whatever. Let's not do the math right now. A little tired. Anyway, yeah. So I like Morrell in this fight. I think Morrell has, only thing I can see Morrell getting caught with is a straight, because Benavidez does throw a lot of straight down the middle punches, and Morrell leaves his chin up high. If he can tuck that chin away and be defensively sound on certain things and not get
I
caught,
know it
he
flies
has a
frequency. Yeah, but no, frequency, because you did say that. You said that it's crazy that they think that David Benavidez has a chance. That's what you said. You probably didn't mean it though. You probably just was like word salad, caught up in the word
oh,
salad.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
maybe I
happened.
did. Maybe I
I
meant
think
that
you
at the
did.
time. Who
No
knows?
big deal.
It's
No
okay.
big
No
deal.
worries. I meant to have a chance. All right. What I was saying is, it's
You don't
crazy
got
to
to
see if
fix
he
it,
had a
bro. Just
chance.
move forward.
No,
Move
no,
forward.
no. We good. We good. We good. We
Don't worry
good.
about it.
Listen, let it happen. Let it happen. Let it
Right.
happen.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. Just him having a chance at the weight he's in, his current, like his weight that he's been at the last time he was fighting at like heavyweight. That's what I'm saying. Like he has to put on the weight. He has to adjust to the division like he did at 168. So he has to be able to have a nice solid a feed. So when he does recover, he's able to uh uh be able to absorb some of these shots. Because if he doesn't, bro, it's a long night, and I don't want, I want a good fight. I want an easy fight, but David Morrell gets him out of there though. So we got to see how this goes.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, right? When it comes to David Benavidez, this is gonna be a big test for both these guys. Both guys were in conversations to be fighting a Canelo Alvarez. We're in the Canelo Alvarez sweepstakes. A lot of people feel like David Benavidez was the rightful person who should have fought Canelo. They credit him in a way with a victory over Canelo, just in the fact that Canelo doesn't want to fight him, right? So just with that has brought the kind of attention, I think, to David Benavidez, to where he has a lot to show and prove on, because the hardcore fans appreciate what David Benavidez has done at 168 pounds. But we're all honest to say that David Benavidez looks like he may have carried a little weight in the division. Some people call him a weight bully. He was way bigger than a lot of the guys he fought at 168. Obviously, he had the height, had the reach, and he doesn't seem like he was too worried about the power coming back at him in the division, as he was always available to keep the fights mid-range, a lot of output of punches. And when you're punching, you leave yourself open to get punched. So obviously, David Benavidez, with that kind of output of punches at 168, shows that he wasn't really concerned about the threat of he believed a lot in his chin in that division. Now, going into this 175-pound weight class division, his last fight being against Vosdick, although there was the information was that he went into this fight with injuries and ailments and things that kept him from being 100% who he could be in the fight, people saw that regardless, that David Benavidez looked like he was made human a little bit, right? Wasn't as superhuman as he looked at 168. He looked like you could get to him. You can hit him with some shots. But look, he weathered those shots well against Vosdick, who was a big fighter, a puncher within himself. The only person who Vosdick lost to before fighting David Benavidez was against Artur Beterbiev, right? The biggest puncher in the light heavyweight division. And he was arguably winning that fight against Artur Beterbiev, or at least in the fight. Could have won that fight outside of getting stopped. It was a very competitive fight, but he got stopped in the later rounds. So David Benavidez went up against him, let his hands go a lot in that fight, was able to connect with the shots, showed glimpse of his older self at 168, but people feel like he was exposed to some degree and to some point, because maybe the power didn't translate as well, or didn't translate at all in comparison to what he did at 168. The power didn't seem to translate. Now, that's what this fight's going to be about, because David Morrell, at the same time, had his fight with Hot Rod, who was more of a boxer, Eastern European, moving around, punching, hitting, not to get hit, great footwork, and seemed to frustrate David Morrell a lot of times in that fight as well. So David Morrell didn't have the greatest showing at 175 either. And to be honest with you, if I was going to compare both of them, I would say David Benavidez had the better showing of the two at 175. But going into this fight, both of them holding interim titles in their own right? Like David Morrell's holding a regular WBA title, and David Benavidez holding that interim WBC title. These guys are both in the conversations for another big fight, right? An undisputed a title shot, or at least a unified title shot against the current undisputed light heavyweight champion. I'm not sure if the IBF has stripped him of that belt yet or not, but regardless, the people understand him to be the undisputed light heavyweight champion in Artur Beterbiev. Conversations obviously out there that Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol, Turkey's pushing for a rematch. That's another conversation, and probably partly to do why these guys are facing each other right now. It's reasonable to argue that the winner of this fight is going to be in the conversation of getting their first real opportunity at becoming an actual legitimate unified champion, right? Because they weren't able to do it at 168. So there's a lot riding on this fight. This fight is a fight that a lot of people felt like should have happened at 168, but David Benavidez being on his trajectory and David Morrell being the quote unquote prospect or guy who's just building up his market value in the space didn't qualify or rank, to fight David Benavidez. Well, right now at 175, these guys are going to handle it. Now, the question is David Morrell more naturally supposed to be at 175 than David Benavidez? Does his traits, does his athleticism, does his strength, does his power translate well at 175? David Benavidez kind of showing that his strength hasn't necessarily translated. I think that's why I would agree with you saying as far as him putting on the weight, coming in a little bit bigger. Maybe he thinks that helps with his power a little bit. Maybe he was concerned about the way his power looked at 175. I'm definitely interested in seeing the fight. I think it's going to be a great fight one way or the other. I do still stand by 50-50 because I think there's a lot of intangibles that we're not going to know until that night. And once those boxes get checked moving forward, let me ask you this question. Does a guy who win this fight become the next best thing? You know what I'm saying? Does his star value move up? This is a pay-per-view fight. And these guys both in their own right are huge threats at 168, 175. Does the winner of this fight kind of solidify who the man is at 175 outside of obviously Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol?
Absolutely. As far as Benavidez is probably more of a natural cruiserweight than a light heavyweight, and I think Morrell was more of a light heavyweight fighter. I think this is where he's supposed to be. This is why he was able to successfully dominate the super middleweight division. And it played into his hand. He got 10 fights under his belt. He moved into a division where he's going to actually face some adversity. And this is where he's supposed to be. Now, as far as the question, yeah, absolutely. We're going to look at this situation and say the guy that wins this fight is going to move into the right category of for the next title shot. It's definitely a given. They're going to be the guy. They're going to be the star. Right when they get that fight, or if they get that fight, is where it's going to come down to. We may even see one of them fighting Bivol before Bivol even has a rematch with Beterbiev. We'll have to see. So a matter of time. We'll have to wait and really see how things play out. And I think this is good for boxing. Like I said, once I seen Benavidez move up to light heavyweight, I knew Morrell would be right behind him. I think me and you talked about this, and I said that division is going to be the new hot division in boxing because you're going to start seeing all these fighters moving up. You're going to start seeing all these fighters collectively engaging in that division because that's where it's at. Beterbiev is not going to be there forever. He's already 40 years old, so it's time to see the new reign of that division. I think it starts with this fight, and we'll see even Bivol getting involved with some of these guys. So let's see how it works, Clay.
No doubt. So on the undercard of this fight, I mean, I think the co-main event is going to be maybe Brandon. Is it going to be Brandon Figueroa and Stephen Fulton? I'm not sure, but either way, we've got Issac Cruz on this undercard. This is actually a pretty interesting fight. The whole situation is very interesting when it comes to Issac Cruz versus Angel Fierro. A little throw it off on this because I think Rayo Venezuela was the guy who we thought we were going to see in the ring with Issac Cruz, being that there was a rematch clause. There was this whole entire idea behind why this fight was going to happen. And just like that, this fight is no longer happening the way we thought it was going to be. And Issac Cruz gets an opportunity to fight against Angel Fierro. And Angel Fierro, a great fighter, you know what I'm saying? A good fighter. But, questions come up as to why this fight is being put together. You know what I mean? Where is Rayo Venezuela? Is Issac Cruz getting like a little bit of a tune-up as far as like, I don't know, is there some confidence issues? Regardless, 22 wins, 17 knockouts, 2 losses, not by a knockout. This guy is in the game to win it. He lost his last fight. Alfredo Santiago is the last guy Angel Fierro fought against, and he lost a unanimous decision, this guy. So he's coming off of a loss. What do you think about this fight? I mean, just off face value, why is this fight being put together, and is this a legitimate fight for you and a fight you're looking forward to see?
I'm gonna have to sit down and watch the tape on this Fierro guy. I
Right.
think this is just a fight to get Isaac Cruz back into the limelight and more contention in the division. Um, this is going to be something that they tried to do with Tio with the Steve Claggett. Get him comfortable and maybe change some things and get new looks. So this is like a stylistically uh uh fight for him to make a adaptation in the ring. Um, moving forward, as far as Rayo, we don't know what's going on with Rayo. I'm going to kind of speculate and throw something out there. Rather, remember, guys, I'm speculating because people like to twist the words up and say different things, but it's cool. That's not what we're doing here. Um, I like to speculate and say that I think El Rayo was trying to get the rematch. I think the rematch came across the table. I think he was ready to do the rematch, and I think it got pulled away because they just don't feel that Pitbull can handle that style. They don't think that he'll be able to get in, and they need to make some quick adjustment to see where his weaknesses and balances are, so they can check those boxes and get him into a rematch or another title contingent fight with the fighter with the skill set of El Rayo. As far as El Rayo, he's there. Whether he's with PBC or he's making a fight with other people or whatever the case may be, it's very odd that we hear his team saying that they were ready for a fight with Pitbull and they were offered a fight with another person, and that was from the other team's mouth, and he didn't take it. And then his coach said that we're going to deal with Pitbull, but the offer was on the table. We'll wait and see. So we have to
Yeah.
see. Yeah, we have to see what's going on.
I think it's definitely interesting, man. We all know that there's history going on right now with Rayo Venezuela. We understand that he's separated from Jose Benavidez Sr. Jose Benavidez Sr. father to David Benavidez, obviously. So there's some issues going on there, and you got to wonder if any of these things that are happening have contributed to any of the reasons that we're seeing that these guys aren't fighting each other. Now, clearly on the Issac Pitbull Cruz of the side of the conversation, Issac really got schooled in that fight. And it looks like he had no answers for Rayo Venezuela. He wasn't able to cut the ring off, right? He wasn't able to cut the ring off on Rayo Venezuela, really just chasing Rayo around and Rayo playing the role of the matador and allowing Issac Cruz to, run and chase for opportunities to put hands on him, but unable to do it. His arms a little too short, you know what I mean? And his foot movement was good enough to actually reach Rayo, and Rayo was able to take advantage of him and make him really look like an easy fight. And you'd have to think going into the next fight, Rayo would be bringing that same energy. But at the same time, looking at who Issac Cruz is getting in front of here against Angel Fierro, who, respectfully, a Mexican fighter, a high knockout ratio, probably comes forward. I haven't watched a lot of tape on this guy, but I couldn't imagine that a fight with this guy is going to prepare Issac Pitbull Cruz to get in the ring with a Rayo Venezuela. Now, are they going to try to have an exciting fight? Well, yeah, clearly on the undercard, two fighters like with a Pitbull Cruz and what looks like Angel Fierro likes to do. It looks like it's going to be an exciting fight. You know what I'm saying? It looks like it's going to be an exciting fight, to say the least. Issac Pitbull Cruz's market value goes up a little bit. He's involved in some exciting fights. He brings a lot of eyes. This event starts to look a lot better. Seems like the card is stacked with a lot of great fights. But moving forward, if he does plan on activating that rematch clause, and Leonard Ellerby was actually interviewed on this a little bit and kind of said that this fight was guaranteed to happen. He said it's still going to happen. He expects to still be pairing off Issac Cruz and Rayo Venezuela to get in the ring. So I don't understand, in all reality, I don't understand why this fight just seems to be a high risk, low reward fight for Issac Cruz, because this guy has a knockout ratio that's pretty decent. If Issac Cruz were to lose this fight, then he really loses his position and goes all the way down and misses out on some decent paydays. But I mean, a big victory over Angel Fierro and an exciting fight pushes up his market value. You've always got to think about somebody like Tank Davis when you talk about Issac Cruz, and are they trying to build the market value up of Issac Cruz to see him be ready to fight a Tank Davis? Maybe his next fight, you get Tank Davis involved with that rematch, because obviously coming off a loss against Rayo Venezuela, that the value of that fight is not there anymore. Are they trying to build him up there? And then on the other side of the conversation with Rayo Venezuela, as I mentioned, him being in dispute with Jose Benavidez Sr., I'm not sure how that's looking and working out right now as far as legitimately on a legal level. I don't know what that contract in detailed. I don't know how much Jose Benavidez Sr. played a role in Rayo's ability to fight under the PBC or things of that nature, right? Like, is Rayo separating from Jose Benavidez Sr. Affecting his agreement as far as contractually with the PBC? Is there some kind of negotiations potentially happening between Rayo and the PBC and maybe renewing the contract in a different way without Jose Benavidez being in there? We don't know who Rayo Venezuela's manager is right now as well. Is it Robert Garcia? Is it the people who work with Robert Garcia's fighters? Robert Garcia doesn't seem to have a relationship really with the PBC that way. So if he is working Robert Garcia in that capacity, once again, bringing it back, what does that mean for Rayo Venezuela? There's a whole lot of boxes that need to be checked, but it's interesting to say the least that Rayo is not the one on this card fighting against Issac Cruz. Rumors going around that Rayo Venezuela as well may be in negotiations with a Gary Antoine Russell, which throws me completely off once again. Why? Gary Antoine Russell coming off of a loss with Alberto Puello, still in the WBC rankings, standing high in the WBC rankings. Gary Antoine has communicated that if he were to fight anybody right now, that he wants to get that revenge. He wants to get that win back. Alberto Puello right now is the champion, as Devin Haney. I'm not sure if he's a champion in recess or just not a champion anymore in the division, but Alberto Puello is the champion. Fight supposedly getting lined up between him and Sandor Martin for that title fight, which might be popping up, in my opinion, on that Tank card that should be getting announced, rolled out in the next couple of weeks. But I don't understand where Gary Antoine Russell has come out of left field or right field to come and be in contention to Rayo Venezuela's WBA title, coming off of a loss. A lot of mixed feelings about what I'm looking at, but I can tell you it doesn't look right from the outside looking in. I just need some more information so I can get some clarity as to what's happening so it can make sense to me. But yeah, this fight definitely looks weird to me, but it looks like it's going to be a competitive fight and a good fight for the card. I don't know what to expect from it, but I am pointing out everything that I do see for whatever it's worth. I'm pointing out what I do see, right? I don't know. Let's see here. What's with black people calling him Venezuela? Is that a joke? Oh man, it's not Venezuela.
Venezuela.
It's Venezuela. Alonzo Spectacular. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I'm just saying his name, bro. I don't know. My bad.
And listen,
I'll just call him Rayo and keep it easy. I don't know.
I don't understand.
I don't know.
It's weird.
I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. Bro. It won't be the first time I said the name wrong. So
I don't get it, bro. I'm sorry.
I mean, I get it. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm saying it wrong.
No, not that. And first of all, it's a language, bro. I'm sorry.
It's
no, not you.
I got you.
Yes.
I got you. All right, Venezuela, right? So at the end of the day, I'm watching the fight. I'm watching this situation unfold, and I'm interested in it. And I want to see what ends up happening, man. What is going on with Rayo Venezuela? You know what I'm saying? And what's behind him not being on this? What's behind him not being on this card against Issac Cruz? I'm hearing that Issac Cruz also took this fight a little hard. Right. Let me shout out to the super chat in the building. We got Mr. Big Play Bray with a $2 holler saying respect the grind Clay, and another $2 holler saying respect the grind Ray. Salute, Mr. Big Play. We appreciate you, man. Keeping that color in the chat for us, man. Breaking the glass on the color in the chat. You guys don't be scared to follow suit. You know what I mean? But yeah, right. Man. When it comes to this fight, man, very interesting as to how this fight came about, and we can go deeper, right, and segue into another part of this conversation, just a little bit segue, just to go into the Tank Davis conversation a little bit, to say that, Rayo Venezuela supposedly was a fight that a lot of people were saying that was a potential option for Tank, or that Tank's team reached out to Rayo Venezuela to potentially make this fight. But rumors being that Tank wanted Rayo to come down to 135 to compete down there, and Rayo Venezuela passing on the fight because, look, I'm at 140 now. I'm a champion here. If you want to fight me, come and challenge me for my title. Why should I, go backwards in a way, not backwards as far as fighting you, but going backwards in weight, where I'm very comfortable at 140 to potentially deplete myself, and maybe talks of rehydration clauses and things of that nature coming up is not something that he was interested in. But more importantly, most people were saying that the reason that Rayo Venezuela was not going to be available to fight against Tank Davis was because of a rematch clause that was activated by Issac Pitbull Cruz, and that was going to tie Rayo Venezuela you know what I'm saying, and not allow him to be available to fight Tank Davis. Well, we're looking at it right now, and Issac is fighting somebody completely different. Ryan Valenzuela supposedly in negotiations to fight a Gary Antoine Russell. Does that take shots at the whole excuse or reason as to why that fight wasn't able to get put together, Ray?
That's what I was mentioning earlier. Yes. I don't think it takes shots. It just raises questions. I don't understand how the fighter himself stated that he was being forced into negotiations. Again, we got to find out what end of the stick these two guys moved the fight to wherever. We got to find out if the or was it just something with PBC? Again, I don't know how the stars keep aligning for these fighters that keep losing, aka Pitbull, aka Antoine Russell. I don't understand how PBC fighters keep getting championship fights after losses, aka Earl Spence, aka Keith Thurman, aka a lot of them. But yet they cry about Cardina. They cry, and I know I wrote this in the chat on Monday, but I'm just saying they cry about Cardina. They cry about all these other guys. Even like here for boxing, what he said about you got a PBC guy with 11 fights, and he's fighting for, you know what I mean, Benavidez, who has 40 something fights or 30 something fights. But then we cry about Keyshawn. So it's a lot of pushback here and there. As far as it goes to El Rayo and Pitbull, yeah, it does raise some questions to me. It does make me wonder what's going on behind the scenes. It does make me wonder if it was a Benavidez senior thing, like, hey, listen, you're not going to fight with me. You're not going to be on my card. We're going to move you a different way. That could be the whole case. Maybe they're trying to risk him to lose, risk him out of his title. That might have been a super duper situation there, like trying to get Valenzuela out of his title by not accepting that rematch. But because it's a management issue, maybe that was some way of the PBC to solve the problem for him to keep his title and fight someone else, and he had to defend against somebody else in the rankings. That's where Antoine Russell came to play because he is a PBC fighter. So they were able to move him in place. These things happen, Clay. We have to see or how things are playing out as they come. Again, we're not all rocket scientists with the answers and we can solve the equations. We have to wait to see what happens in the future so we can actually put all this in hindsight and make it 2020, because as you know, we don't live on fixations and dreams. So at the end of the day, all these questions will be answered. We just have to wait for it.
Right. Yeah, man. And as far as that Rayo and Gary Antoine fight, if that is the fight they're looking to put together, I mean, listen, man, I can't help but favor Gary Antoine to beat Rayo Venezuela. I don't see Rayo Venezuela beating Gary. Putting him in that fight, it could be looked at from the outside looking as a setup, or, you know what I mean, them trying to get the belt off of Rayo. It's a very it's going to be a difficult fight to say the least. Gary Antoine Russell is one of the biggest threats at 140 pounds without a title. His fight against Alberto Puello and the way that went was not expected. A lot of people still feel like he won that fight. You know, Rayo at the same time being in this dispute with Jose Benavidez Sr., not being taken off of the David Benavidez card that he was already going to be on. I mean, it's a lot of convenient things going on, right? There's a lot of like, okay, that's convenient. But like you said, we'll watch it play out and we'll see what happens. And I'm sure it'll make more sense with hindsight. Hindsight is always the best sight. You know what I mean? Always gives you the most accurate information, you know, calling it after you see it happen. We'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? We'll see what they do, right? But moving on
Real
to the
quick,
next.
I want to make a challenge. Physical challenge, pause. I want to make a challenge on that Antoine Russell thing. Antoine Russell has an alligator arm mentality when he's boxing in the ring. He just throws wild shots, bro. I mean, his footwork's good, but his punches are just like they're not jabs. He don't come in, he don't fall with feints or nothing. He's too aggressive. I can see Rayo doing the same thing he did with Pitbull, worse than what Puello did to him, because of the fact that he's going to set himself up and leave himself available for the jab, the return, the feints, and the and don't forget, Rayo is a puncher. He can knock Antoine Russell out. So don't be surprised if we overlook this guy El Rayo Valenzuela. He can easily turn the tables on Antoine Russell. So I don't want to jump the gun too quick and say Antoine Russell, if they do fight, has a clear way to victory. But Antoine Russell is probably going to be the favorite in this fight.
Yeah, I'm not saying he can't beat him. You know what I mean? I'm just saying I can't help but favor Gary. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And I would think, as far as in the spirit of good matchmaking and Rayo taking full advantage of his leverage that he has as a WBA champion at 140 pounds now, the unification title fights he could be involved in and other fights that he can get involved in, even Tank Davis, it just feels like high risk, low reward to fight against guaranteed Antoine Russell. It just seems like a fight that kind of like it's a setup, because it can easily just take away all the steam that this guy's built for himself from the moment he knocked out Chris Colbert to the fight with Issac Cruz. You know, he's on a certain kind of a trajectory, and you would think that building this guy up would be more important than sticking him in there with one of the most dangerous fighters at 140 pounds, who doesn't even bring a title, you know what I'm saying, to the ring, and is coming off of a loss. And like I said, Gary Antoine Russell, you know, really has already communicated to the boxing space about what he's interested in. So this is not, in my opinion, Gary Antoine Russell pushing to fight Rayo Venezuela, right? This is the PBC calling that team up and saying, this is where we want you to good day, Big Dre, salute. This is the PBC saying, listen, Gary, if this is what's going on, if there is a negotiation happening between them, this is the PBC getting involved in this. Gary was nowhere near a WBA title. He wasn't looking at putting himself in that position. He was looking at avenging himself, potentially fighting Alberto Puello next, or fighting some sort of title eliminator spot to be the next guy in line to fight for that WBC belt that seems to be floating in between Devin Haney, Alberto Puello, and you know, if you want to put him in the conversation, Sandor Martin, right? That seems to be where he wanted to be at. I've even heard Gary Antoine Russell mention potentially fighting a Jack Catterall, right? He wanted to get into that discussion so that it could be a little title eliminator there as well, to be, you know, all I've ever heard Gary Antoine Russell talk about is WBC sanction and body politics. Him going to challenge Rayo Valenzuela for his WBA title just seems like it came out of left field. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, you know, hopefully it just pans out and makes more sense as time goes by. And once again, maybe it's just rumors. Maybe there is no Rayo Venezuela and Gary Antoine Russell fight in negotiations. I'm hearing there is, but maybe there isn't. And then that'll make a little bit more sense as to what we're seeing. But we'll move forward.
Yes, sir.
Now, also on that undercard, we got Jesus Alejandro Ramos. My bad, I put an A in there for no damn reason. It's just supposed to be RMOS. excuse me for the miss. Versus Jason Banana Rosario, right? Now, look, man, Jason Rosario coming over from a very competitive fight on Pro Box, right? I think his last fight was against Jared Hurd, right?
Yep.
That was a decent fight, right? Like, but it was a close fight, and I didn't see nothing special coming out of Jason in that fight. It looked like a big, it looked like a crazy sparring, a dog sparring match. They just stayed in the mid-range, taking off on each other. You saw Jared Hurd try to stay on his jab a little bit more. He wasn't that dog that we necessarily are used to seeing him be. Rosario was more of a dog in that fight, and he was able to walk away with a victory. Well, now he gets an opportunity to fight against Jesus Alejandro Ramos, nephew to Abel Ramos, who was part of potentially Fight of the Year candidate Abel Ramos versus Mario Barrios this past weekend. So that's his uncle, right? So Ramos came into the what is it, the junior middleweight division, 154, right? Junior middleweight division as a you know, he's one of those up and coming prospects in that division, but he came and took a loss against, what was it, Erickson Lubinson, I believe, right? That he just took that loss against to. And a lot of people just feel like the only reason he lost that fight is because he took his foot off the gas, right? He thought he was ahead. It was kind of like that Felix Trinidad, Oscar De La Hoya thing a little bit, where, you know, he thought he was ahead on the cards to a certain degree, took his foot off the gas. Obviously, there must have been some swing rounds in those early rounds that affected the final decision, which was giving Erickson Lubinson a split decision win over Jesus Ramos. Well, Jesus Ramos, you got to look at this fight and say that this fight is going to be somewhat of a redemption fight for him, right? This is going to be an opportunity for him to get back in the conversation, to be up there, because before that fight with Erickson Lubinson, he was projected to be in some way bigger fights at 154, right? But now, look, he gets an opportunity to redeem that against Jason Rosario. Jason Rosario getting an opportunity as well to put his name back in the conversation in that junior middleweight division. What are you looking at? How do you feel about this fight?
First of all, I want to say, well played, Clay. Well played. PBC again with their fighters fighting on other platforms because both Rosario and Hurd are both PBC fighters. They fought on Pro Box. We just want to know where that's going at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Now as we get into the Ramos fight, Ramos is definitely the person I'm looking to see win this fight. I think he's the one that has more of the analytics for keys to victory. Anything can happen. I mean, don't get it wrong. Rosario put on a great fight against Jared Hurd. Actually, it made it look like he was making Jared Hurd cry because that fight started off with Jared Hurd. Jared Hurd was on fire, bro. I think like the first 2 rounds he was getting good shots in, looked like he was getting good work, and it just the doors closed. Once Rosario got comfortable, he started taking nice angles and and started working Jared Hurd a little bit where Jared Hurd looked like he didn't even know what was coming. So now we're starting to see things pan out as we're moving forward. This could be potentially a fight of the year for 2025. This
Mhm.
could be a very competitive fight. This could be one that ends in a devastating knockout with two guys going toe to toe, and in a great chess match. This will be something to be looking forward to, and I can't wait to see how these guys look in the ring.
Yeah, me too. I think I didn't think about it being fight of the year candidate, but you're right, man. This fight has, look, Jason Rosario is coming forward. That's what he's going to do. Ramos gets an opportunity. I think he's going to love Jason Rosario's style. I think this is a perfect opportunity for Jesus Ramos to drop and be part of a very exciting, one of the best knockouts of the year fights. He has an opportunity to get involved in that and resurrect his whole entire his career. Not to say that his career was in the dirt, but I mean, I think this is going to be Jesus Ramos's first fight of the year. Am I right, for 2024?
Yes, yes, it will be, and I'm
Right.
laughing. Yes, absolutely, you're right. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, he's
Shout out to
coming.
Raw Spot in the building. No,
He's
I was gonna let you. I was gonna let you cook. I was gonna say something, but I didn't want to go into it because it has nothing to do with nothing.
Okay. So I think that Ramos, kind of inactive. You know how I feel about this inactivity going on with a lot of fighters over there with the PBC right now. He gets an opportunity to make a big statement, put himself in the conversation to have a great 2025, right? If he's able to do well in this fight in 2025, you have to assume that the PBC is going to be interested in using his likeness, and his fighting style and his marketability to put him in some big cards next year and hopefully even get into some title eliminator fights or things of that nature to get higher up in the rankings. Maybe get that win back from Erickson Lubin. And yeah, Alessandro Spectacular, you are totally right. A lot of people felt like he won that fight. They thought Ramos won it. Ramos thought he won it. That's why he took his foot off the gas. But he ended up getting that loss on his record, right? So this is an opportunity to kind of correct that. If anybody had any questions about that, and show everybody who he really is, because before that he was really one of those guys at 154 coming up. He was an undefeated fighter doing a lot of great things in that division. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Let me
And
see.
he made Lubin. I'm sorry, real quick. Yeah, he made Lubin really look normal. It made people question if Lubin still had it after the fight with Fandora. This might have been
Right.
an echoing event on what took place. So, absolutely devastated. It looks like again another fighter that looks shell shocked. As did we talk about Fulton yet? Not yet. We'll wait.
Not
All right,
yet,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, we're not there yet, but we will get there. We're about to go there very soon. This is going to be a great fight, man, on that card, man. And all the fights on this card, in all honesty, are good. The PBC may not have been active this year as far as putting out a lot of events, but their events have been quality when they drop them. As far as the fights, their last event production wise was a little, but the fights were of good quality on that card as well. And they're following suit and have that reputation and staying true to that reputation to have these great cards. This is going to be a great fight on that card, right? Looking forward to see that. We'll see what that turns out to be. Let's move forward on the next fight, which I think is going to be one of the fights I'm definitely looking forward to see on this card. I've got some questions and some boxes I want to get checked when it comes to these two fighters, one of them especially. This is going to be Stephen Fulton versus Brandon Figueroa, a sequel. These guys fought at 122, where Stephen Fulton edged out a very close fight. They're coming back together in this fight. Brandon Figueroa in the A-side position in many ways, being that he is holding that interim WBC title. I'm hearing rumors that this might be for the actual WBC title, as the actual champion at 126, Ray Vargas, seems to be in some sort of champion in recess status, or I don't know why, But this might be more so for the actual WBC title. This will put that guy in the unification conversation in 126. 126, a very hot division, in my opinion. Future home of Monster Inoue, hopefully, fingers crossed, but home of WBA champion Nick Ball, home of WBO champion Rafael Espinosa, right? And home of current, WBA, IBF. Oh, yeah, I'm right. So WBA Nick Ball and IBF, is it Leo? Angelo Leo? Is that who it is?
Well,
Is
126 is 126 is Leo. Yes.
For the IBF, right?
Yes.
Right. So, a lot of big things happening in that division, and obviously you have the fighters who aren't holding belts, like Robesi Ramirez, who's one of those fighters there, and Shushu Carrington. So, this is a great opportunity for Stephen Fulton, right? And Brandon Figueroa, obviously a great opportunity to avenge a loss he had, and show the world that maybe it was the weight, maybe it was the experience, maybe it was the timing, but this is his time to show out. A lot of people are putting him as the favorite in this fight. Stephen Fulton coming off of a very shaky, performance. We'll say that. I mean, he did get the victory. Stephen Fulton did go ahead and get that victory in that last fight, but a lot of people were booing and felt like he didn't take that win against Carlos Castro. Carlos Castro is a fighter that Brandon Figueroa has already fought, got rid of him inside of 6 rounds. This went the full 10 rounds with Stephen Fulton, and Stephen Fulton got put on his pockets in this fight. A couple of times got hurt, caught the jelly legs, was doing a stanky leg in that fight a couple of times. And a lot of people think that ever since Stephen Fulton fought against Monster Inoue, that he just hasn't been the same fighter, right? Maybe a little punchy, maybe a little bit more reserved in his mind. Maybe he's a little paranoid. I don't know. But now we combine that with him switching his trainers to Bozy Ennis now. And Bozy Ennis, in my opinion, I have a lot of respect for what Bozy Ennis brings to the space and for what he's done with his son. But it does look like when it comes to Andy Cruz and now Stephen Fulton and other fighters on his stable, that he's trying to create like a cookie cutter version of Boots, right? He wants these guys to fight like Boots. And I don't know if Stephen Fulton's really that kind of fighter who should be fighting like Boots. Whether he can or he can't, we'll see that night. But he fought that way against Carlos Castro. And just like Boots did in his past 2 fights, got punched on a little bit. He got hit more than I think he needed to get hit in that fight, and that was a part of the reason why he got sat on his pockets. During the press conference, he spoke towards his power, spoke towards his dog, spoke towards the fact that people don't know this side of him and that he's interested in showing this, and he's going to show this, and that he has power and that he's going to be bringing to the game that people don't think he has. I mean, that's great on face value to hear him speak that way, but the same exact time, when you look at his last performance against Carlos Castro, when you see him getting stopped by Monster Inoue, you got to have some reservations in your mind about what that looks like against Brandon Figueroa, somebody who, in all honesty, is a puncher, right? High knockout ratio, 25 wins, 19 knockouts. Only loss he has on his record is against Stephen Fulton. He's been able to dispatch of his last couple of fights outside of Mark Maxayo. He's stopping people, right? He lost a majority decision to Stephen Fulton, but he TKO'd Carlo Castro in the 6th round. And knocked him down in the 3rd round. And, was able to do the same thing with Jesse Magdaleno, was able to KO him in the 9th round of this last 12-round fight. Now, in his last fight, he looked human, though. He did well and knocked him out, but he looked human. He looked like, but at the end of the day, look, man, he walked away an interim WBC champion in that fight. Now he's going to be defending his actual regular WBC title against Stephen Fulton. He has a lot of motivation as to why he should win this fight. And Stephen Fulton seems to be a new fighter, almost. Like, he's a new guy, man. And who's this new guy going to be against Brandon Figueroa? What are you going into this fight thinking about?
All right. I think we got 1 or 2 things to look at with Stephen Fulton. First things, I want to say that first fight he came in with Castro, I think it might have been a little bit of shaky legs. Coming up to a new division, coming off a loss. Could have been some things in his mind. Different trainer. A lot of things, butterflies in his stomach going into that fight. That could become a head case in the fight, causing some situations in that nature. Now, moving forward, if his confidence builds up a little bit, we could see a whole different animal. He's already been in the ring with Figueroa. He's already beat Figueroa in a really great fight. So now, if he feels comfortable there, and he does everything the right way, we can see a strong, healthy, mentally strong Stephen Fulton in the ring. Now, I still have the thing in my mind that I think Stephen Fulton has this issue with being hit after the Mustard Inouye fight. I believe he treads water. I believe his defenses have changed. I believe his mind has changed. And when things like that happen in boxing, it changes the way you absorb and fight. When I say absorb, when he goes to get punched, he's not defending the same way. He's taking unnecessary punishment. These things can turn out to be bad for decorated fighter with over 20 wins and holding two belts at one division. Going forward, if he gets in the ring, I think he'll settle down. I do think this will be a better performance. I think he's going to come out, and if he gets sit on his pockets, he has to understand it's his own doing because he's going to get hit. Figueroa is not a he's not a slouch, and I wish he would have took the approach that Figueroa did when Figueroa lost and moved up into the division. He took everything fully and ready to go. But then again, he didn't get knocked out by much anyway, and didn't get embarrassed. So we'll have to see how this plays out, Clay. I don't know how the fight's going to go, but definitely my opinion on how they are going to have to prepare for each other. I just hope Stephen Fulton proves to us, and again that Bozy thing. Bozy has to find the hitting bag trick. Unfortunately, he has to start bringing out his fighters' weaknesses and bringing them out and improving upon them, and working on their strengths and building their strengths. If he's not going to do that, and he's going to try to replicate boots or replicate certain styles that he has in mind, he's only going to find himself in difficult situations. The slick Floyd style fighting, that Philly shell and lower arm in the front, to be slick and use a wide variety of pop jabs and hooks. That thing's coming to an end, man. These Eastern Europeans, the Mexican style, they kind of adapted to that, and it's no longer looking safe for fighters that like to use that style. It's very challenging. So hopefully we get some good results in this fight. May the best man win. I really don't have a winner yet.
Yeah, man, I'm leaning towards Brandon Figueroa. I'm not gonna lie, but I do think it's very close to 50-50 fight. Stephen Fulton I just need to know who he is, and I don't know who he is right now. His last fight, I'll be honest with you, if he approaches this fight with that same energy, I don't know if he's gonna make it out of this fight and not get stopped. I think Brandon Figueroa is in position. And has been perfectly positioned to walk away with a knockout in this fight. As far as Stephen Fulton is concerned, you look on it, I put on there Crossroad. It's a crossroad fight, man. Stephen Fulton came back from that Monster Inoue situation. He took a long hiatus, well over a year and some change, to come back into the space, and he spoke and projected himself to be at 130. He said that his last fight against Carlos Castro was just going to be a real quick stop at 126, and that he was going to go to 130. But look, he's being managed well, clearly. The people who are looking out for his best interest put him in the right position, got him a title shot, so why not stay at 126 and go for it, right? But look, he's coming from 122, and the power hasn't translated yet. He seems to think that it will. He gets an opportunity to do it against a fighter who he had a majority decision over, but it was a very competitive fight. I'm interested in seeing how this fight's going to look. I think it's going to be one of those fights that you got to look at because I think it speaks to the future of 126 and maybe even the future of 130. If Stephen Fulton loses this fight, maybe he goes up to 130 and gets to the conversation with those champions and contenders up there. But a big fight. Shout out to both those guys. Like you said, I'm interested in seeing what it's going to look like. Let's see if these guys are able to put the punches together the right way. Let's see if Stephen Fulton's power can translate. He has the boxing skills. Obviously, the IQ was there. Can't question that. Is the power going to be there to discourage Brandon Figueroa from walking him down and doing whatever he feels like doing, right? Big fights. Both these guys got a lot of expectations. What's going on here? Pardon me, too. Okay, Fulton versus Castro was fire. Yeah, Roscoe was definitely a fire fight. You know what I mean? Ramos won that fight. I had Ramos beating Lubin. Okay. Guys are just engaging in the chat for sure. Don't forget to hit the like button. If this is your first time on the channel, I'm not sure, please subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. Let's move on to the next topic at hand. Jake Paul, right? Jake Paul, the last topic, right? Before we get into just speaking generally, maybe even opening up the panel a little bit. Jake Paul versus who? As you guys can see, I put in there, your next one better be your best one. And why do I say that? Jake Paul's in the crosshairs of the whole entire boxing space at this point, right? He's punched on legacy. He punched on Mike Tyson. He punched on a national treasure in the sport. He didn't stop him. He didn't look like he was going to stop him or looking to stop him. But at the same time, Jake Paul winning the accolades of somebody who's one of the faces of boxing, or somebody who runs boxing, or whatever the narrative is behind his name. You combine that with taking what people are painting as him taking advantage of an older 58-year-old Mike Tyson. The boxers in the boxing space are screaming for the Jake Paul sweepstakes, right? There's no doubt about it that Jake Paul offers a lot of money fighting against him because he brings that type of attention, very similar to, let's say, a Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Tank Davis, or Canelo Alvarez, as far as the kind of fights that they can be involved in. And everybody wants a piece of the action, and they also want to avenge Mike Tyson. My thing is, I've always looked at Jake Paul in one way, which is somebody who's promoting their platform, promoting their brand. And I never necessarily looked at Jake Paul as somebody who was trying to get the highest accolades in boxing. I always attributed all that talk and everything he did as to being part of the game. Very WWE-ish energy. Never took him seriously. But listen, if he's going to call out Canelo Alvarez, if he's going to say that he should be in these conversations, then look, he puts himself in a position to be held under the microscope and examined like any other great boxer. I'm going to ask you, Ray Davis, at this point, if Jake Paul has to make a decision which direction he goes, what's his next best move?
Definitely, Jake needs to stay away from boxers. I think even the analysts and the greatest sports writers are saying that Jake Paul is not a real boxer in the sense of him fighting in a competitive boxing match with the top 10 or top 20 fighters in each section and body. Do I think he can hit or land shots? Absolutely. Do I think he can absorb or take a shot or two? Absolutely. Do I think he can win a lot of these fights? Absolutely not. I think the competition and the stellar development of some of these fighters are way too out of his league, and I don't think he can handle it. Of course, obviously, as you were saying, what he should do is just continue to promote his company. Now, if he can get some of these fighters that want to fight him on his card and maybe promise something and do some exhibitions as he did with Mike Tyson, sure, I'm all for it. That's where the money is for him. That's his lane. I know he's saying things because he's trying to promote his company. He's trying to build his company up to get viewerships and get other things. If he wants to take on a fight and he feels bold enough to, let him. I have no problem with that. But just remember what comes with the consequences. Injury, loss, embarrassment, all these things. Because again, you just mentioned he just hit a legend in the game, and Mike Tyson just felt like he just needed to do what he had to do on his end. But at the same time, these guys see a payday. They see an ultimate payday, a big bag, bigger than Canelo, bigger than Tank. It's crazy to say that, and bigger than probably Floyd in current status. So they see this payday, and they see an opportunity to get in the ring, to shine their shoes, take them out the closet. Some of the young retired fighters and some of the nuanced fighters is coming back into the ring that are currently fighting and looking for fights. They see it, and they're like, hey, let's make it happen. Obviously, he's calling out Canelo because he know that's a mega fight. Him and Canelo will probably do well over 1 million. If it was on pay-per-view, it'll probably do well over 1 million pay-per-view buys. But just in viewership, you can imagine it going really 10 times as much as what it did with Mike Tyson, just to the fact that Canelo has a country with him. I don't know, Clay. I don't really care which way he goes. I just think what he did, his last fight is good for exposing Netflix and exposing boxing to the world and a new generation of boxers, showing them who Mike Tyson was, rather the build up or what we all saw. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen all the videos and the clips and the slowdowns of, was it real fight? Was it staged? Was this? Doesn't matter. That's not what it was about. It was about the fighters underneath the that event. It was the undercards. That's what it
Yeah,
was about, and I salute that guy for that.
for sure, man. Yeah, man, I'm gonna tell you how I see it, man. When it comes to Jake Paul, this is how I see it. Good and bad. Great. You helped roll out Netflix into the space. You gave a platform to a lot of fighters who wouldn't have had a big platform like that. Congratulations, Jake Paul. Me personally, I've always given Jake Paul the respect of being a very smart marketing genius. Great for promoting boxers. He's building up a platform that he can put boxers on. So I always attributed what he's doing towards doing that. That he's doing the antics, he's making these fights because he's trying to bring attention to himself, and obviously his platform, MVP Promotions, and that is going to be something that he probably stays in for the longer part of the marathon journey of his boxing career. Not his boxing in the ring, but as far as his involvement when he's 35, 40, 45 years old, his ability to facilitate and be part of putting some of the biggest fights together possible. I've always looked at him from like a Vince McMahon point of view. You know, Vince McMahon ran the WWE. I don't know if he still runs it, but he ran the WWE. And every now and then, Vince McMahon will put on his tights and go out there and punch Stone Cold in the back and hit him with a chair or something, or let Stone Cold stunner him, or get into it with a Triple H, or, you know, he makes some things happen. He'd shake it up a little bit. But we always understood what Vince was doing. We understood that Vince was building the brand of the WWE to make it the biggest platform possible so that he could bring wrestlers on there and make all the money in the world. And he was a big success at doing that. I looked at Jake Paul in a very similar way. You know, he's getting involved. He's headlining these cards because he's using his likeness to bring attention to these cards. And I've always been okay with that. And I've never judged him as a real boxer. I think a lot of people have judged him as a real boxer. And because of that, putting him under the microscope as they would put on a Canelo, or put on a Terrence, or put on a Devin, or a Shakur, or, you know, I mean, all these fighters. Yeah, he's failing in multiple different areas. But when it comes into promoting, I've always given him that respect. But here goes the twist. And this is where the rubber meets the road, and where Jake Paul is going to hit a crossroad, and he may have hit that crossroad with this fight to Mike Tyson. Because when you get in the ring with a fighter like Mike Tyson, who has the history he has, now you actually bring the eyes of the boxing space to you in a whole different way. Because now there's contempt, there's indifference and animosity towards you for putting Mike Tyson in that position, and you've motivated a lot of boxers who probably wouldn't have given Jake Paul any attention in a real way prior to Jake Paul violating a lot of these boxers' heroes. A lot of these boxers came into the game with Mike Tyson as a motivation, as an inspiration to them to be in boxing. And here you go, punching on this 58-year-old guy in the ring. You didn't knock him out, but at the same time, you get to walk around with the accolades of somebody who has Mike Tyson on your record as somebody who you beat. You get to walk around and say that you carried Iron Mike Tyson. And that just doesn't seem to be going over well with the space. So now you hit a crossroads, and the crossroads is, if you want to stay in boxing and you want the boxing space to take you seriously, your next fight has to be a fight that is significant. Should it be against Canelo Alvarez? Probably not. If Canelo's willing to do it, that would definitely be going in the right direction. But at the same time, there are fighters out there who are calling you out, who are legitimate fights that you can get into. And we're going to see what his next move is. And if you go and you pull up some MMA fighter like Conor McGregor, who's never fought at 170, who's gone as high as I think like 160 or something like that, and he was kind of big there. He was kind of like, small there, fighting against like Nate Diaz. Or you go into fighting fighters who aren't boxers, credible boxers, then I think your stock falls dramatically after this next fight if you don't do that. I think his next fight has to be a significant fight. Andre Ward seems to be open to negotiations. That fight, in my opinion, is the perfect fight for Jake Paul. Andre Ward, 40 years old, hasn't fought in over 7 years. This guy fits the profile of what Jake Paul likes to get involved with, except for the fact that he's a Hall of Famer and finished his career undefeated, and more like he's going to knock Jake Paul out. But it's a fight that would be celebrated for Jake Paul, and we could take you seriously as a professional boxer. Keep in mind, of course, that if this is what he wants. If it's what I think it is, and what I've always looked at him as is, look, man, I'm just doing what I got to do to make money, A, B, build my platform up. I already know who I am. Then he shouldn't get in the ring with none of these dudes. Decisions for Jake Paul to make, but I'm going to tell you what, after this Mike Tyson fight, it seems like the boxing space is very interested in making a decision about Jake Paul. People are getting to that point right now with a lot of people are going to start making a decision as how they look at Jake Paul. And it might sound weird because maybe a lot of people already made their decision on who Jake Paul was. But you combine that with what people consider to be a bad look, to have Jake Paul beaten on a Mike Tyson, people are pushing harder than ever to see Jake Paul inside the ring with a real fighter. And I think, listen, I think people are well within their right to. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you push on Jake Paul to do something for real at this point? You've been skating by, getting these fights with people who don't box, and now you've gone to the ultimate line, and you done dragged in a national treasure in the sport and punched him in front of the world for 8 rounds. You got to expect that this is going to come with it, you know?
Hey, let whatever comes with the storm, just weather it. All I got to say is, at the end of the day, too many people in their feelings over Mike Tyson, man. And Mike Tyson wanted to do the fight. It wasn't like Jake Paul reached out to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson reached out to Jake Paul. So, this was something that they wanted to do to make money. This was some event that they wanted to do. We know what this is all about. I don't really care if he does or does not get in the ring with somebody. I would like to see somebody like a Andre Ward, but where does he go from there? Does he get a Le'Veon Bell on his card and have a Le'Veon Bell start fighting? So maybe they can make that fight happen. Who I think will be a great fight for Jake Paul. Le'Veon Bell is a great boxer coming out of the NFL with multiple stoppages. Is he worth the fight with him right now? Absolutely not, because he hasn't done anything. But maybe he could fight somebody significant and put himself in a good fight. And as he's doing that, we could even move Jake Paul into a decent fight. It doesn't have to be Andre Ward just yet. Get a couple fights in your belt, prepare for Ward, make this a big mega fight for next year, somewhere down the line, or the following year in 2026 early, and let's make it happen. It's all business, baby, as they would say, right? That's it's all business, baby. You know what I mean? So let's see what happens, man. Let's make this happen. Let's see what goes on. Let's go from there, Clay. It's all business.
I agree, man. I do think it's all business, but I guess my response and in my perspective was just responding to the crossroads that Jake is at, and the crossroads, in my opinion, and because a lot of people are judging Jake Paul as a boxer, and that's why they have a lot of contention towards him. Me personally, I've never judged him as a boxer. I always look at him somebody who's obviously boxing in gyms, and he's training and he's leveling his personal goals of becoming a boxer, and respect to him, but I always looked at him as a promoter. That's what I always looked at Jake Paul as. I don't look at him like a boxer like that, and I don't hold him to boxer standards. I don't feel like he needs to fight the most competitive fights. I don't have nobody who I want to see him fight against. He's not somebody who I look at that way, but the boxing space is pushing back at it. And my thing is, if he's going to be a promoter, then that's what he's going to be, and we don't need to be judging him as a boxer. But if Jake Paul himself is serious and has aspirations of being respected as a boxer, if this is what he wants for himself, then there's a way to do that. And if he doesn't do it that way, it will look bad on him if he's going to continue to sit here and try to get the accolades of a boxer, but refuses to do the things that boxers do in order to become, staples in the boxing community. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how I look at it. Shout out to Boxing Hacker, back in the super chat, showing love again. Shout out to Boxing Hacker, says, hey, I'm not mad with Paul. Brother created his own lane and it's working. I want to see him and Andrew Tate for an even bigger mega fight. That would be a good fight.
Ooh, there you go.
That would be a good fight because Andrew's a kickboxer, a K1 kickboxer. He comes from that background, so he knows how to box. And Andrew's just a man's man. I'd be rooting for him. I'd want to see him whoop the shit out of Jake Paul, right?
Yeah, but he went out there calling for that bag, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
put that on the internet.
There's
hey, I get it though. I get it. That's what I said. You know what I mean? They all doing it for the money. It's going to end up same result, Clay. They know what it is. It's a written theme, bro.
Yeah, I want to.
You know what I mean?
I'd like to see Andrew Tate beat up on him. That'd be good. Once again, Jake Paul. That's the kind of fights I want to see Jake Paul in. I want to see him in there with Andrew Tate. I want to see him in there with KSI. I want to see him in there with some YouTube. Those are the fights I want to see him in, bro. I have no interest.
I told you, Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell would be a good fight for him, bro.
Yeah, but Le'Veon's part of his training situation, so I mean maybe. But at the end of the day, those are the kind of fights I want to see him in. I don't care to see him in there with any real legends or any real boxers. I don't care because I don't look at Jake Paul that way. But if Jake Paul, once again, I want you guys to catch the box that I'm speaking in and why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm saying if Jake Paul truly has aspirations to challenge for a title one day, to be this great boxer, to be one of those guys, then there's a way to do it. And fighting Mike Tyson was not the way to get that done.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
You know what?
But in the
I
spirit
got
of
it.
in the spirit of promoting his platform and showcasing for fighters, to give fighters an opportunity to get showcased and promote MVP Promotions as a home for boxing for fighters all across the space, I'm okay with what he did, because it marketed, it rolled out something great. He was part of it, and now he has access to resources to help boxers out who are trying to be developed into bigger boxers. I'm going to celebrate him for that, because that was a smart move, and I'm with him on that. But if he wants to be considered one of those guys, then he's gonna have to do what those guys do.
Let me tell you, I just figured it out who you should fight next. The only star that calls out everybody for her boxing match. Soldier Boy. Oh,
Okay, bro.
just to be stopped.
That being said, I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat for anybody who wants to come up and build. You know what I'm saying?
What's up? Trick Tim's in the building. Here for boxing. Do you think they're going to let Wilder punch on Jake Paul? Absolutely not, man. Jake Paul wins that through paid victory.
Roscott said no time he lost didn't because the entertainment engine didn't allow it. That's why Jake Paul last few fights been in the USA. No time he lost. Okay. I got a little bit of a headache. I ain't gonna lie, but salute. Okay, I got my guy up here, bro. Salute. Shout out to Swift 718 in the super chat. Salute Claymore Cash. Hey, like Coach Malachi said, boxing promoters and excuses from boxers created Jake Paul. 100.
Yo, hey, send that man his money back. He deserves $5.
But I do celebrate and appreciate your donation to the channel. And, and I agree with Coach Malachi 100%. I've been saying it. If people want to be mad at anybody for Jake Paul, get mad at your favorite promoters. Get mad at those guys, because those guys open the lane not only for Jake Paul, but also Turkey Al-Sheikh and everybody else who everybody statewide complains about. They have a home and they have an opportunity to fill in that space based off of the space that's been made available by bad matchmaking and the bad handling of the sport that we all love. It is what it is. Salute to my guy. Too rich. I respect the belts.
Salute, champ.
Salute, Blue and Clay. Salute.
What's good with you, family? What's on your mind?
Man, where y'all want to start with? Jake Paul, man.
I mean, I don't want to start there. We here. Sure, why not? We here, man. Let's go ahead. That way we can get to the real boxing, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my stance on this, my stance on the Jake Paul fight, man. I'm actually making a short now, and to me, the whole thing was fake, man. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nowhere in the world. I clip up too many boxing clips to know what boxing look like. And if you look at that stuff in slow motion, you know, Mike Tyson, he holding back. You know, he not really trying to fight, man. Okay, that's fine. It was a spectacle. It was entertainment. I get that part of it. But and I also don't think Jake Paul was fighting for real. I think that was just a play. You know, like I say, maybe with respectful. He didn't want to try to knock out Mike Tyson or whatever. And you talking about a whole lot of money at stake. You know, so they did what they did. But I want to know if y'all remember the little clip just a few months ago with Mike Tyson and Shannon Briggs out there on the street.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at that clip, look how fast Mike Tyson closed that gap, man. He 58. He not 98, man. We acting like 58. That's muscle memory, man. He's been fighting all his life, man. There's clips on the end of 70-year-old man out there knocking jokers out. So you don't forget that, man. But, you know, it was entertainment. As far as Jake Paul, you know, this the problem. Let's say it was, you know, scripted. It was, you know, just a show. Now everybody seemed to think it was a real fight. So is Canelo gonna be good? Hey, you gonna make 20-30 million? Are you good with putting on the show and maybe losing? Because see, if you put a real fighter like Andre Ward or Canelo, is they gonna play the game because there's so much money at stake? Now I think at that point it started to make boxing look bad. So I would prefer Jake Paul just do it, make a spectacle, man. Fight the MMA fighters, or like you say, Andrew Tate, maybe somebody like Ryan Garcia, but those guys might really want to fight. And I think as long as he's fighting lower level competition, MMA fighters, maybe football players or whatever that's trying to get into boxing, I think Jake Paul will actually fight. You know, and you know, maybe it's just a good show or whatever. But let me tell you the most interesting part about that fight for me, right quick, was I looked at the numbers. I can't read them right now, but the numbers that came out to me was Netflix paid Jake Paul $25 million to stream that fight. So if I'm trying to think, we always talk about PBC and Amazon, and they not giving PBC a budget. You know, like I say, is Netflix a realistic option that maybe, you know, I know ESPN might not be renewing the contract that they need to go to, that might be with the success of that fight, might be willing to, like you say, get into the boxing space.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
I agree with you 100%, man. Let me read this. Rick Tim just said this. Actually, I want to read what Rick Tim said, and I want to go back to what Cheat said. And somebody else said something too that I wanted to get at as well. But look, Rick Tim says, look, if Jake want to be legit, he got to face and defeat some legit pro boxers his own age and size, which I don't think he's capable of doing so. So it's the circus that pays him well, and it doesn't. It pays him well till it doesn't any longer. I agree, man. I think as far as boxing is concerned with Jake Paul, there's a lane for him. For me, but I'm questioning, because whenever I got in this conversation yesterday with Blue Blood, and you know, Blue was more so comparing Jake's trajectory as far as a level of fighters that he's fighting based on the number of fights he has, right? To say that he was pulling up Canelo's record and Gervonta's record and saying, listen, look at their first 5 to 10 fights and the quality of fighters they were fighting. They were nobodies, right? They all had losing records. They all are people. Most of them are people who aren't in boxing today, who weren't competing on the highest levels. And I pushed back and I said, listen, I hear what you're saying, but they were all boxers still in their own right. They were all aiming to be great boxers. They all had aspirations of becoming champions. They were all on the same trajectory or on the same mission as Tank Davis. Whereas for me, Jake Paul, he's fighting fighters that are out of their prime. They're not boxers. They have no aspirations of becoming champions in boxing. They're retired from their actual combat arena that they compete in, and it's just different. It's not the same thing. And because of his celebrity, he's allowed to be on these cards fighting these nobodies, these people who he never heard of, because of his celebrity, but not because of his boxing skills. But, you know, in the spirit of what the conversation was about, if he wants to be in that conversation, if he wants to be on the same path as a Canelo Alvarez or Gervonta Tank Davis, if he wants to be somebody who's cutting his teeth in the sport, he needs to fight boxers. He needs to go on the same path. He needs to fight people his age. He needs to fight people that are going to give him an opportunity to be in some real competitive fights, and so he can show the boxing space the dog he has him and the value that he has in boxing, as far as off the strength of his boxing, not off the strength of his celebrity. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you this question though. We got to think about the money though. If he go out there and fight a real boxer and he loses, does that damage his brand?
I think without a doubt it would. You know, it's a risk that he would take. He would get exposed, and yeah, that's why I said he shouldn't do these things.
I think it depends. I'm going to say that depends.
He should. If he's losing, he's losing, man. He could lose one. No. If he just becomes this guy who's getting punched on and getting knocked out, what does that do for his brand?
But I'm saying it depends on the opponent. If it's somebody of caliber of Canelo, I don't think it looks as bad. If it's somebody of the caliber of a Floyd Mayweather who's retired, I don't think it looks as bad. But as a Tommy Fury or Hassan Rahman Jr., yeah, that doesn't look good for him. That takes away from his credibility and what he has brought to the YouTube world. I don't think he loses the young fans, because I think that's where most of his fan base is the youth, anybody like 25 and under, because they know who he is more than they know the boxers that we're talking about. But absolutely, I think it only hurts him if he goes into there with like somebody like a Benavidez, yeah, or Hassan Rahman Jr. He gets knocked out, yeah, that hurts him bad. So it all depends on his opponent.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Cheat says people want to give Mike People want to give Mike too much credit, and I get it. He's an iconic fighter, but the guy's old and out of shape. Now, that's not the one I wanted from Cheech. Where's the one that you had said?
It's up a little bit. Yeah, he just wrote that. It's before. Yeah.
Well, let me find
Hey,
it.
but look, we saw all those training videos. We just talked about the Shannon Briggs video. How is he seemed to be pretty well in shape before the fight? All of a sudden, at time of the fight, he's not.
Well,
all of a sudden, now he's out of shape.
I don't think he was that well, but I'm gonna tell you straight up, Mike's on TRT. You know what I'm saying? He's on. I know he is. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if he was allowed to be on it in this fight, and I think that's what you're seeing. You know, that TRT makes you look. You know what I mean? Like, really, it makes you look good. It makes you, you know, embrace your youthfulness a lot. You know what I mean? It brings that out of you. When you get off of it, you get old looking real quick. You get old looking real quick. Like a month to 2 months off of TRT, if you've been on it for years, a person will look, their age and their true reality of who they are will come out. And I when I looked at Mike Tyson the night in the ring, he was old, bro. Like when he was in the back locker room and he was walking to the ring, doing his walk, I said, that's an old man, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I saw it in him. When he was standing in the ring looking at Jake, I was like, yo, bro, Mike is old. And I never seen Mike like that before. Whenever he does his hot boxing podcast or whenever you see him in the gym, like in those videos, or like you said in the street with Shannon Briggs, you know, doing a little, you know, slap boxing, whatever have you that you want to call it, he always looked a little youthful. But on his way to the ring, that man got real old real quick, bro. It's like you seen it in him for the first time ever I saw his age.
I think there was too many opportunities. I'm telling you, on my end, and what I think I seen, and I seen it live. I didn't watch any replays or anything. Mike was very capable. He was slipping. He was able. He definitely avoided shots. He definitely could have countered with a lot of shots, and he pulled back. He did not. He pushed. He grabbed. He bit his glove. Looked like it was a signal to get hit, or him holding back. That was his way of holding back. And not engage. They put on a bigger glove so it wouldn't be painful or anything of that nature. Mike hit him with a shot in the forehead, almost damn near killed the boy. I don't buy it. Yes, I know he's old. He's an older man. He's 60 years old. He's an athlete over 200 pounds. Of course, his bones are going to hurt. Of course, his muscles are going to ache. With age, things take longer to heal. But at the same time, this guy was not in any way, shape, or form out there too old to lay this man out. He could have easily laid out Jake Paul. He had many opportunities. He just didn't take it because it was what it was.
Yeah, but I mean, he still looked old coming to the ring. You just seen the age on him, man. I saw it. I don't know if you guys want to take a look. Look 6 months back, man. He got old in the past 6 months to a year. Mike got old, and he wasn't old.
Hey, also look how bitter Tyson is as he talk about legacy and all that. You know, Tyson clearly he got some issues or you know, personal issues. But I'm not trying to damage Mike Tyson legacy or nothing like that. But I did a short when I first started, long a few months, you know, months ago, maybe close to a year ago. And Mike Tyson said in the interview that some of his real fights were fixed, like the fix was in case he lost. He said that out of his mouth, so we know he'll play the game. You see what I mean? That's all I'm saying. You know,
right? Too rich, bro. He came from the streets of Brownsville, Brooklyn, bro. This dude was robbed. You know what I mean? And once again, just like you said, not trying to damage his legacy, but just being honest that he came from, you know, he was robbing people's houses. He says it all the time. One thing about Mike Tyson, I think one of the things I love about Mike Tyson the most is how transparent and real he is. I'm telling you, that his ass cheeks showing in that locker room was a metaphor to who he's been.
I'm so glad I missed that.
I'm so glad. Care, bro. Does not, you know what I mean? His butt cheeks showing in the locker room was just a metaphor to who we know Mike Tyson to be over the past years. Am I lying too, Rich?
Nah, that's him.
Man, thank God to having to work.
My ass. So what? What are you gonna do about it? That's all I think about for Mike.
Thank God to having to work at night.
What are you gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying? So what? My ass is out. What you gonna do about it? Nothing. I ain't think so. You right, Mike? You need some water or something? You good? All right, man. I'm gonna sit over here and chill in the corner and wait for you to do your walkout, bro. Ass cheeks it is. You know what I'm saying? So Mike has always been the kind of person who's going to communicate to the space how he feels, and he'll tell you if there was a fix-in. He'll tell you that he put hands on Don King.
Mm-hmm.
He'll tell you that he did drugs and you know what I mean, and was a horrible person. But one thing Mike Tyson has been most transparent about in his career is that he's not proud of his career. He's made that clear. He doesn't like that guy. He's always said that he didn't like that guy. He never wanted to bring that guy back. And that's why in many ways my heart went out to him and I celebrated him in his opportunity to A, make money, B, be somebody. I think Mike Tyson respects who he is today. I think he loves who he is today. He's a Muslim man, you know what I mean, spiritually based, living his best life. He's around his kids. He has great relationships with everybody in his family as far as kids and his wife is concerned. He's a very happy man, and he had an opportunity to showcase himself and show, like he said, I'm about to show my kids that their father's a very special person. Now, more people might want to think that special in the ring was what it was all about. I think it is more so, I put 76,000 people in the building. This is who your dad is. You don't know your dad because you was babies when your dad was boxing at his greatest. You weren't, a lot of y'all weren't even born yet. You don't know who I really am. You see me on my box, on my podcast. You see people give me my props, want to high five me and say they love me, but you don't know the power of Mike Tyson. And on this night, I'm going to show you in AT&T Stadium who your daddy is, if that makes any sense to everybody on the panel, right? Your daddy's somebody who put 76,000 people's asses in seats in the building and crashed the Netflix network. Look at all your friends talking about me. You know what I mean? That's who your daddy is. You ain't know, now you do. You know what I'm saying? So so at the end of the day, I was happy for Mike, man. He got the payday, man. I was super happy for Mike. I was super scared for Mike. If you guys watched the live that I was doing with Blue Blood, I was threatening Jake Paul between like round 6. I'd be like round 6 on. I'm looking at Jake like, go ahead and play yourself, bro. I'll come out there and whoop your ass, bro. Dude, you better not knock out Mike, bro. I'm telling you, better not knock out Mike. You better stick to the script. We all know there's a script. We all know don't get off the script. You stay on the script and don't you hit that man too hard. You know what I'm saying? So he's a national treasure. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna celebrate him for getting to this point, man. Y'all know we've been living through the Mike Tyson. We've seen Mike Tyson from the beginning of his career to now. He wasn't promised to have today. That man should have been, I'm not saying should have been, not say that, but he could have been in prison for a very long time. He could have died. So many different things he could have done because Mike has abused his life in so many different ways. To see him get to this point in his life right now to become a millionaire, and maintain his money. He's lost everything he's had and had to rebuild it back up. And to be in an opportunity like that, I was happy for Mike that night, man. But
hey, I saw where Mike Tyson said, you know, he was talking about it. He said he shouldn't even be here. He should be dead. Talking about he had a threesome with, you know, his partner and a girl. Both of them caught AIDS, but Mike didn't catch it, and both of them died. So, like I say, Mike got a lot of, you know, he got a lot of things in his mind. But, you know, but also, y'all remember now when Roy Jones and Mike Tyson fought, that pay-per-view, I know it was about $40, but it did 1.5 million pay-per-views. So Mike Tyson is still clearly, he's a big draw, you know, that kind of shows how he revered, you know, by the public, you know.
I agree with you 100%, bro. I agree with you 100%, brother. Moving the conversation forward and not hanging on Jake Paul too long. And we got you up here too, Rich. So we need to make sure that we get the right takes from you before you leave. We got to make sure we get you in the right conversation because you're not up here to talk about no damn Jake Paul.
Hell no.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? So we're not going to waste no more time. That was cool. Good luck to you, Jake. I hope your next fight is your best fight. I hope MVP promotion grows. I like that the what he did for Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, Mario Barrios and Abel Ramos. All those Shadeja Green became a super middleweight champion. Bruce Shushu Carrington got to get a little more activity for the year. Great fights on that card, man. Was extra happy to see that happen. But let's move forward to this whole entire David Benavidez and David Morrell conversation that me and Ray was on, but I'm definitely interested in your perspective on this. What do you think about this rollout, man, and the card and, you know, David Benavidez versus David Morrell? What do you think about it?
Well, as far as Benavidez versus Morrell, I see it like this. I heard y'all talking earlier about it. It's a fight that Benavidez really don't need. So I think it's like that man's man fight. The young bull calling me out. I'm finna go straighten it. You see what I mean? It's one of those type of fights. They're not on the same level, you know, and it's kind of similar to the Keyshawn Davis and Tank thing. Well, I don't think Tank necessarily has to fight Keyshawn. I don't think they're on the same level, but it's a caveat. If Keyshawn beats Barichek and get a belt, then we can forget about the 12 wins. He has a belt now, so now he's a real player in the game. Whereas Morrell, he don't have a belt. It's more so like we see somebody he looked like he could beat you, and everybody kind of go but get behind the newest young dog. Oh, he can do it. And to Benavidez' credit, he taking the fight. So if Benavidez beats Morrell, okay, so what? Well, what did we learn new? It's just that I don't think he gains anything. He showed me a lot when the way he beat Andre. So I don't think this was to see him beat Morrell wasn't necessarily just okay. People thought Morrell was all this, but we ain't seen enough. So I think he got everything to lose. I think it's a risky fight because he got everything to lose. And Morrell got everything to gain because even if he get in there with Benavidez, holds his own, and even if he loses, that could be a loss that elevates him. Kind of like Canelo losing to Floyd Mayweather. He could still go on to have a good career. If Keyshawn were to lose to Tank, he could still go on and use that fight, to propel him. But for Benavidez, I think it's a Moncho fight. And if he wins, okay, no, nothing lost. But if he loses, I'm gonna say his ego got the best of
him. David Benavidez's ego?
Yeah, David Benavidez's ego. Like meaning you let them get to you, I get it. You trying to chase the other guys that's not happening. So I'm giving them credit. Like this a real, hey, go in there, destroy the young bull. Don't get me wrong. But I do not think it's a fight that necessarily. I haven't seen enough out of Morrell. I don't look at a guy swing his arms and think he could beat everybody in the world. I have to see more. I have to see more. So I favor Benavidez just on experience alone. But it's like Terrence Crawford fighting Boots to me. Okay, if Terrence Crawford beat Boots, okay, and Boots hadn't really fought nobody. Terrence Crawford not getting them for that. But if Boots beats Crawford, Boots gets everything. So the same thing. If Morrell beats Benavidez, Morrell would have beaten the best. It's somewhat of the best, So I think it's a risky fight because Benavidez gains nothing by beating Morrell.
Man, bro. I like that take, bro. You know what I mean? Like I think there's a lot of things in the midst of this fight. But one thing, first of all, I'm gonna celebrate those guys. Because as fans, we got to celebrate boxers who give us fights when we ask for them, right?
Yeah.
And David Benavidez answered that call, right? He said, "Oh, okay, so y'all think this dude is the dude? Y'all think I ain't fight this dude at 168 because I'm scared of him, or you think like him next? He's the best fight for me to make outside of Canelo Alvarez, and obviously outside of a winner between Artur Beterbiev and Better Bivol. I'm going to give you guys the best fight that's available to be made. Let's make that fight happen." Benavidez is going to have to check a lot of boxes, man. I agree with you, bro. And he has a lot to risk because he's actually built up his market value to a certain degree, and we all kind of look at him. I said earlier in the stream, I said, listen, man, David Benavidez kind of has like a moral victory on Canelo Alvarez. He kind of has a win on him without fighting him, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's kind of putting it on Canelo, saying that he's ducking him and making him the biggest threat. He's already, he's building on that. He's building on that image of him, and he's putting that image all on the table against David Morrell. David Morrell is ahead of where he's supposed to be right now. At 11 fights into his career, nobody expects him to be into no big championship fights. He stays fighting in Minnesota at the Armory. There's been questions about, I can get deeper into David Morrell as far as questions with the PEDs, and not that he's ever been on it. I'm not saying he has, but people have questioned that he wasn't tested a lot when he's over at Minnesota. Like they seem to be protecting him a little bit over there. And now he's going to be leaving. He's going to Las Vegas to fight David Benavidez, and he gets an opportunity to change the whole conversation. And if he loses, what does he lose for real? He wasn't ready anyway, right? He wasn't ready anyway, and okay, they went away. Good. They wasn't ready anyway. And he moves on. He fought a great fight. He gave a great performance. He lost. Blah 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 blah. But David Benavidez has a risk on the table to lose everything he's worked for.
Not only do Benavidez gotta win, he really gotta look good, doing it. If he goes in there and struggle, like I say, he got everything to lose to me. But let me ask you this question. Who is the better boxer? You know how I look at fights. Who is the better boxer between Benavidez and Morrell?
I think one would. I don't think you listen, bro. I think it's very possible that David Morrell is the better boxer, bro.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
He comes with that amateur. People aren't still aren't talking about these dudes' amateur careers in the right light, in my opinion. Certain amateur careers are more celebrated than others. In other words, that Cuban amateur background is a serious background, bro. That's a serious amateur background, that Cuban space. You know what I mean? Same thing with the Eastern Europeans. That's why you saw Israel Madrimov look the way he did in front of Terrence, and everybody was like, "Yo, he only got 10 fights." Yeah, but he got 350 plus amateur fights. You know what I'm saying? Arguably has fought more in the ring than Terrence Crawford has. You know what I'm saying? So that has to be taken into consideration. And David Benavidez doesn't have an amateur career, right? He might have fought like one or two, couple of amateur fights here and there, but he pretty much went professional as soon as he got an opportunity to. He's a young dude, and I don't think people acknowledge that about David Benavidez, that he's still a young guy, and he hasn't, his experience isn't necessarily who he is. It's more of his tenacity. And another question is, has David Benavidez been getting a lot of his accolades based off of his size at 168? Was the weight bully thing more of a factor than we want to acknowledge? Because I could tell you, going into this fight, even when he fought against Vosdick, that weight bully thing went out the door. Now he was able to let his hands go and do a lot of things in that fight, but I didn't never really see him hurt Vosdick. I'll be honest with you. I think there was one time I seen him hurt him a little bit, but not really. Is he going to be able to is that power going to translate and carry up with him to 175 and discourage David Morrell from just walking him down and doing whatever he feels like doing? You know what I mean?
And let me tell you this, David Benavidez, why I kind of I'm thinking of David. He got fast hands, but I still think of David Benavidez as a puncher. And when I look at him, I see a couple flaws, meaning in order to generate his power, a lot like Ryan Garcia, David Benavidez has to stand straight up. His head gonna be in the air. And he gets to this Muncho stage of the fight where he just kind of like, come on, let go. He will take shots. And I'm just a believer you're not gonna be able to keep taking shots from a puncher, from a guy with some good power. So he's gonna give him a real opportunity, I think. And I don't know, that's gonna be I gotta break it down a little bit more and look at both of them, but I think that's almost a 55-45 fight though.
Right. Ray was saying the same thing. He felt like this is more of a fight leaning towards David Morrell. And I could definitely see where he's coming from. 100%, man. You know what I mean? I still think it's 50-50 because look, man, until you show me, I don't know. David Benavidez, I'm still going to give the leverage to him. I'm gonna keep him in that conversation because without a doubt, he's fought the best competition on a professional platform.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I get an edge. I got Benavidez at 55-45, but because of experience. But he's gonna give. He let guys hit him. He go through that Muncho stage now, and we're gonna see which one got power. Now in that little face off, Morrell looked a little bigger than it, a little taller than it.
Not only did he look taller and bigger, but we know that David Benavidez is fat right now. If you see that, so that means he's probably going to get slimmer because but Ray seems to think that he expects him to come into the ring a bigger guy, like he's going to try to put size on to be able to absorb the punches of David Morrell, and potentially if he has to be in a position to smother David Morrell's offense, that he needs to be in a position to take some punches. So he might come in the ring a little heavier. That as well is something that I'm wondering how that's going to look on him. How's his body going to react to that? How's his conditioning going to look if that's what he plans on doing? It's crazy, man. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different variables in this fight that's going to affect it. Who does David Benavidez ultimately want to be in that ring? On the press conference, he's talking about breaking this man's jaw. You know what I'm saying? So is he going to be in a mid-range fight the way he's going to try to? Is David Benavidez and his team being honest with him? Are they being honest with him? Are they being honest with each other? Now, I'm also hearing rumors of potential indifference going on inside the Benavidez training camp. I don't know if you heard the rumors that Senior isn't the head trainer necessarily anymore.
Yeah. I heard that. Yeah.
Right. So is he coming in the ring a new dude? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, what's going to happen? Was Jose Benavidez Sr. a huge factor in David Benavidez's success, and removing him at this point in his career? What does that look like for David Benavidez? I can tell you, just him standing in front of David Morrell in that makeshift little face-off in that green room. If you guys saw the short, he looked fat, bro. And I haven't seen David Benavidez, in my opinion, look fat in a long time. You know what I mean? I've seen him look like a little, like Tyson Fury-ish, right? With the skin and everything like that. But he seemed like he was pretty committed to making weight, and he was in a great shape. Like when you looked at him in the weigh-ins with Caleb Plant, he looked like, I'm like, damn, bro. You know what I'm saying? Slim, trim, but he was looking fat in front of David Morrell. So it's going to be interesting to see all these things come together. It's going to be a great fight one way or the other. I think us as the fans, we're going to win no matter who wins this fight. We're going to win, right? So we get an opportunity to see that. Roscoe said, Clay Marine facts, Benavidez is definitely favored to win, especially with that torta stomach. Ooh, there ain't lying, boy. Boy, doing hood rich, my God, my brother. Salute, King. The schedule is going down. I see March 1st is getting more and more nailed down. It hasn't been an official announcement, but it looks like we're getting closer and closer to that day, man. I know you're going to be relieved to finally get that ironed out so everybody can stop asking questions and start speaking about this fight. Let's see here. I'm going to come up in a second. No doubt, family. Oh, yeah, bro. I know. That's great news, bro. Let me put that right there for you, brother. You let me know, man. That link is right there, bro. Definitely interested in hearing what you got going on over there, man, for sure. Let's go ahead and move this conversation over to let's see here. Are you interested in this fight at all?
What is that?
The Ramos and Rosario fight.
I don't know if it's a fight. I'll watch it. I would favor Ramos. I think Ramos beat Lubin. I think that was a terrible. I couldn't believe it. I just assumed Ramos won, came back, and they was raising Lubin's hand. I couldn't believe it, man. But I do think maybe Ramos took a foot off the gas toward the end. But I still thought he won that fight easily. So Rosario, whatever his name, he got a puncher's chance. He got a puncher's chance. But outside of that, I would have to give it to Ramos.
Yeah, I think he's a better boxer. What about this fight right here? What do you feel about this one, Stephen Fulton and Brandon Figueroa, man?
Man, I'm just not big on Stephen Fulton. He got skilled. I heard y'all talking earlier, man. Y'all was spot on. I don't know if it was you, Claire Ray, but about the Bowsy and Stephen Fulton and who else, Boots and who were the other fighters? Andy Cruz.
Yeah.
Bowsy is good about creating offensive fighters. Mm-hmm. But all you got to do with a guy that's very offensive is time him. And that's why you seeing them getting hurt, because they're getting time. Because they're too offensive. They're too offensive. So with Stephen Fulton, he's offensive and he looks good, but he doesn't have the power. And like you said, him getting that, I think he got a little PSTD or whatever from the Inoue fight. Yeah, he don't want to really, So I don't really know who the guy he fighting.
Brandon Figueroa. If you don't remember, Brandon Figueroa fought him at 122, and Stephen Fulton won a majority decision against him. But Brandon Figueroa's been on an uptrend ever since. That's the only loss he has. He got a decent knockout ratio. In my opinion, he's poised to if they want to call it an upset, however they want to look at it, he's poised to beat Stephen Fulton. Especially with all the new changes that Stephen Fulton's been doing, bro, with Bowsy. I don't know how good of an idea that was for Stephen Fulton to go over to Bowsy. I don't know. I just don't know.
I think they all got hoodwinked by.
I think you broke up a little bit.
Went over there. Don't get me wrong. They're offensive and they look good. Don't get me wrong. Andy Cruz looks good, but he's gonna get time like he got timed in his last fight. I just think it's not enough to defense. And with Stephen Fulton, he just don't have the power to keep a guy off of him. So I don't know, man. You know, I'm gonna check out the other guy. I'm not familiar with him as much, but Stephen Fulton, he gotta show me something, man. I don't know. I'm not convinced. You know, I hear how the Philly people talk about him, but I'm not as convinced. You know.
Yeah, I agree, man. We're gonna have to see, man. He just his last performance just wasn't that impressive. Yeah, that's right. He says Figueroa all volume and has no defense, but I think Figueroa has gotten a little bit more defensively responsible too. Since I'm not gonna lie to you, man. In his last fight, he just had the fight was almost a little bit boring until he knocked the dude out because he was being like more reserved. He's not just letting his hands go recklessly as he used to. So we'll see. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. But listen, man, he's undefeated outside of the loss he took against Stephen Fulton, which like I said was a majority decision. One of the judges had to fight a draw, 114-114. So you know, we'll see what ends up happening, man. I want to see if Stephen Fulton can bring back more of the boxing personally. Can you bring that IQ back and just use that Bozy approach in spurts in certain spots where there's opportunity, make it happen, but don't be so one-sided or one-dimensional because, you know, Figueroa could probably read that pattern and set you up for something real devastating. You know what I mean? But like I said, it's a crossroad. And this fight, the WBC title's on the line for Stephen Fulton. He gets an opportunity to become a champion at 126. So it's a big fight for him. All right. So let's move it on to what was the other topic? Too Rich. We were talking about. Oh, we already did Jake Paul. The hell with that. We're not doing that no more. I think that's it pretty much. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, as far as topics are concerned, was there anything that you want to talk about, Too Rich, that we didn't talk about?
Well, I just did a short yesterday on the Zepeda. The Zepeda Tevin Farmer fight. I didn't get to talk with y'all about that, but and what I was seeing is Zepeda don't have a lot of flaws. When I look at a fighter, I try to, it's either flaws or tendencies. With Zepeda, I don't see a lot of flaws, but I do see tendencies. And one of those is that he's a converted southpaw. So he's not a natural southpaw. So what that means, his power hand is the jab hand. So when he throws a lot of volume punches, but those other punches, the left hand is not as strong because that's not his power hand. So he's looking to come back with the hook. So that's why he's throwing 3 or 4 punches. He's really trying to land the 3rd and the 4th punch. Right. So when your power hand is your front hand, when you throw that jab, you just released your power. So when he bring that jab back, people carry their power hand low. That right hand come low. So Tevin Farmer was able to counter over there with that left hand, the left brick hand, just counter him over his jab. And he was catching them all night. He just couldn't keep it up, but he was timing Zepeda. So, but my point is, if Shakur is going to face Zepeda, Shakur gonna have to sit down on that left hand, man. He's gonna have to counter Zepeda, but he's gonna have to sit down on it enough to keep Zepeda from throwing the 3rd and the 4th punch. And is Shakur gonna sit down? I mean, I don't know if he's gonna just be able to step to the the left or the right and land, and is that gonna be enough if you're not sitting down on that punch to keep Zepeda off on, or Zepeda, he's just gonna throw more punches. No matter how effective it is, I think boxers are under attack, and they're trying to now give pressure fighters or punchers credit for just moving the fight along, basically. So I think that's a tricky fight for Shakur, whereas I think Zepeda is more matched for Tank. Tank will slip that left and land and land. He got enough power to make something happen. I'm not saying Shakur don't have power. What I'm saying is Shakur is also a converted southpaw. So his left hand is not his strong hand. So he's gonna have to counter with a left that's not his strong hand. That's gonna be an interesting fight, man. That's a style fight. That's a tricky fight.
Yep. I'm glad you said that. I've been trying to tap in. I don't know what happened. I had some technical difficulties, so I missed the whole bit of this thing. Yeah, so we're gonna move into the Shakur thing. I like everything you just said. I actually was building with Clay on this, and I told Clay that I think Zepeda does show a different action. I even talked to Flyer Frequency on this as well. And he told me, he thinks I'm a little crazy, and I don't see things as what they are. But I try to be real. I'm not saying Shakur cannot win a fight. We don't know. You know what I mean? We have to see how the training goes. But I do see some of the same things. When I see a guy throwing over 1,000 punches, and I see a guy that likes to sit back and counter, and his counter is not his dominant hand, as you said. You know, it's not his power hand, but it's a sharp punch. Obviously, you know, he has some stoppages, but you got a guy that's going to be coming forward. He's not going to care about what you're bringing, you know, with your pop, because he doesn't believe in that. He believes you're going to keep moving backwards, and that's going to play into his hands. He's going to try to force you on the ropes. He's going to try to smother you. He's going to keep throwing shots. He's going to keep you blinded from you to get the correct punch off. And by him doing so, he's going to try to play the end game. I do think Shakur, on the other hand, does have some boxing intelligence. I think that intelligence comes to play with William Zepeda. Do I see it playing as much as a Yoshino? To some degree? I do think Shakur is going to try to opposite in that. Shakur is going to try to dominate the rounds with punching, high punch output to offset William Zepeda, to keep him at a distance without having a mid-range fight, but keep him at the end of his jab and keep him honest. As William Zepeda starts walking into things, he'll start feeling the power from the power hand and start feeling that jab being more abusive than it should be, and I think that makes Zepeda be honest and change his game plan. And the question is, does Zepeda have a backup plan? Is it all punch, all glory, or is it I can sit back, I can start adjusting, or anything of that nature? Because this is what it comes down to: if Shakur can expose Zepeda in the trenches or at the end of the jab, does Zepeda have a backup plan? That's the only question I do have.
And you know, I think Zepeda would be a tougher matchup for Shakur than Tank would be, because Tank don't have a high output. We just talking styles now, you know, not talking pin, just in style. Why Tank don't have a high output, he just have a more impactful output. Zepeda, that's a fight that, like you say, Shakur not gonna be able to get away with just tap moves. Zepeda gonna outwork him. So you actually gonna have to see a more sharper Shakur against Zepeda than you would have to see against Tank, just because of the style. This dude finna throw 1,000 punches. What you gonna do? You know, how you gonna stop that and the optics of it? If Zepeda just throwing a bunch of punches and you're landing a few meaningful punches, but you're not hurting them, you know, that's a tricky fight, man. I mean, I favor Shakur, but that's a tricky fight. But I'm gonna tell you, if Tank was smart, he'll go for Zepeda. You know, he still fight from him anyway. Still the fight, go for Zepeda. That would be a good name. And I do see Tank being able to slip that left and stop Zepeda. But I think it's a tricky fight for Shakur, man. You know, he gonna have to be on point. We're gonna see the best Shakur. I tell you that. If he win that fight, we'll see some of the best Shakur, because he's gonna be active. He's gonna have to be.
Yeah, I think that one thing that's common thread, I think, throughout this whole conversation is that Shakur is going to have to punch fighting against Zepeda. That's something that we haven't seen him really doing as much. I'm not going to lie to you, that fight he had with Aratunian, I think he was punching a little bit in that fight, but he wasn't punching as much as he's going to need to punch in this fight with William Zepeda. He needs that hand to be on point, healed, no excuses, and he's going to have to bring this, because Zepeda's not going to allow him. Zepeda's great at cutting the ring off. He's going to be attacking that body for Shakur. And the only thing that's going to stop him from doing that onslaught body attack and doing the things he was doing to Farmer, and even although Farmer was able to weather that, I don't know if Shakur weathers that type of onslaught without really being able to discourage Zepeda and moving that way. And this is going to be behind his power, his ability to punch on Zepeda enough to make Zepeda a little bit more cautious and not let out those high volume punches. He's going to want this fight to look as close to a Robinson Casasiao or a Jamel Herring fight. You know what I mean? Where he's making him pay so much that even if he's not feeling the pain necessarily, or he's leaking, he's getting knotted up, his nose is leaking. You know what I'm saying? He's every time that man goes to his corner, I want to see that man's corner tending to his face. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get him together to bring him back out into that match. This fight poses an opportunity for Shakur to catapult his brand. If he's able to beat the brakes off Zepeda, the value of him and Tank Davis, it's already a high value match, but it's going to go straight through the roof. It's going to go straight through the roof of the back.
And you know what?
Salute. Brian
Can
Fraser.
I add on to that, y'all? Salute to the
for
panel.
sure.
Yeah,
What's
too
What's
rich.
up?
I just wanted to add on to what you were saying about Javante Tank Davis being smart and taking Zepeda. I think Tank will probably want to let Zepeda get a belt. I think that is an easy win for Tank. I think I see what you were saying. I understand what you meant by that. Tank being smart to take Zepeda now, but I think it'll be smarter for him to wait for Zepeda to get a belt because then that'll make the fight a little more better. And even if Zepeda can beat Shakur, which I don't think he can though. I think we saw this before with Matias. Matias was that type of fighter. He's a come forward type of guy, throws a bunch of punches. Everybody was thinking that nobody can, beat Matias. He was the boogeyman and all of that. And to me, Zepeda seems like that same old style over again. Once he gets in there with a nice boxer with some pop, I think Shakur is that guy. I think he's going to lose, and people are questioning Shakur's power. I think Shakur has enough power. Shakur has he has more knockout wins than Tevin Farmer has in less fights. I think
Those are
I
good
think
points.
I think Shakur can break him down. He get a lot of his KO stoppages from breaking his fighters down. And I think that's the only thing he has to do with Zepeda, keep his distance, make him pay when he missed, and Zepeda don't seem like he can get out of the way of that left hand coming over top of his jab. That's all.
Super interesting that you said the Matias thing. Being that they both had the same trainer at one point, I could see a lot of that being in coincidence. But the difference is, in my opinion, is Zepeda has a lot better punch accuracy and punch output as opposed to what's this guy's name? Matias. Matias is more of a stand flat fighter when he throws his punches. He kind of like leads in with feints and as he walks you down. Zepeda just keeps punching and he looks to connect. He looks to do damage with every shot. He's able to maintain those shots as he's coming in. And Shakur, on the other hand, likes to back up straight into the ropes. And then he tries to sway to the right with his hand pulling out in front of him. That's a dangerous move for him in this type of action. Doesn't mean that Shakur cannot win this fight. I don't compare anything to a herring fight. I know those were great fights. I look at it more as a combination of him trying to treat this fight like he did with Yoshino when he moved to the division. Attack, attack, attack. Don't let this guy get his hands up. Put him on the defense early. Make that guy think about what's coming. As Clay said, make him go to that corner and wonder what's happening. Because if he doesn't, and he allows that guy to get his motor going, and once it going, Shakur's going to be in a lot of trouble. We can look at it for whatever it is, but Shakur is very weak to the body, and the body snatcher himself, Mr. Zepeda, will be looking to attack that weakness and expose Shakur. It's very possible that we could see something special in this fight. Mocking my words with Canelo Alvarez, but we could definitely see something special with this fight going on, and as it happens, because we have two different styles of fights at the highest peak levels. One defensively and a counter puncher who's going to have to take chances on moving forward and show that he has a beard. One that has a dig down, grimy, high output Ferrari punching style that's not going to stop until you take the gas out of his tank. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight plays out. As far as Tank Davis in the picture, which I didn't want to bring up, if he steals a fight, yeah, that's a good move for him. Do I even see him stopping Zepeda? Yes, because Zepeda walks straight forward, and he's going to walk right into that type of shot. But here's the difference: if Zepeda is able to blind Tank like he blinds most of his fighters, this is going to be a different style fight. But Tank will be also on the back foot looking to counter. But Tank, I think, is a little faster than Shakur and he's better at timing with his ring IQ. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. I'm looking forward to the Shakur and Zepeda fight. It's going to be interesting. And hey, it's not an upset either way it goes. At the end of the day, they're just two great combatants in that ring.
All right, let me say this last thing, man. I would say this: what I give Shakur credit for, say, fighting a Tank Davis, I would favor Shakur because I think Shakur got two ways to win. He could knock Tank out, or he could or stop Tank, or he can win by decision. I favor decision over Tank. Plus, he got an opportunity to stop him just by nature. And Tank, I'm looking at in my mind. I think only way Tank wins against Shakur is because he knocks him out, or at least knocks him down enough to make it lopsided. Okay, but when I look at Shakur versus Zepeda, I got to favor the output on a decision to Zepeda. You see what I mean? Just from the punch output. So my take is this: I got Shakur by stoppage. I think he stops Zepeda because I think he has to. I don't think he wins a decision. Yep. I think he has to.
Interesting. Let me bring in some of the people that just jumped on the panel. Shout out to Coach Eddie in the building. Ain't seen you in a minute, Coach. Well, not in a minute since last week, right? And shout out to
Coach Eddie in the building.
I ain't seen Rich forever. I only see him in the chat, so it's definitely an honor to have him up on the platform. How you gentlemen doing this evening?
I'm doing good, brother. I just left the dentist office, man. So my mouth is numb. So I didn't jump on the panel real quick.
No doubt. We've been talking about a whole lot of stuff, but I guess what we're talking about right now is just Shakur Zepeda fight. If it does happen, you know, I mean, how you see that fight going?
I think I favor Zepeda, man. I mean, and I like Shakur, but one thing about Shakur, he's going to have to make sure that he's in impeccable shape. His condition is going to have to be through the roof. Yeah, because this Zepeda proves to be some type of punching machine, some type of Antonio Margarito, Paul Williams type of guy that just going to continue to trunk punches at you. And right now, the judges aren't rewarding inactivity. They're not. You're not. There's no more style points. You're not gonna get any style points. You're not gonna get any points for making a guy miss. They are rewarding work. So I see Shakur. If he doesn't let his hands go, he's gonna get outworked in this fight. He's gonna lose. You know, and with Shakur's temperament, Shakur has a reputation that he's afraid to shatter of not getting hit clean. Nobody wants to get hit clean. Nobody wants to get knocked down. But he's gonna have to really do his, Mayweather chop Corley thing when Chop had Mayweather on spaghetti legs, and Mayweather said, "Shut up and fight. Shut up and fight." He gonna have to dig in. Shakur has not showed us that yet. He had to show. I'm not saying it's not there, but he's gonna have to show that type of grit in this fight to pull this fight out, because that dude coming to win, and there is no more style points. So I'm gonna make my plane right there.
And then on top of that, though, Shakur's grandfather just came out and said his last 7 fights he had hand problems.
Right.
Your hands just don't get normal overnight, bro. If they messed up, they messed up. And Buddy on here talking about he got to stop Zepeda. I agree with that. And I feel like he can outbox him. But Zepeda did get exposed. But if Shakur couldn't stop Autumn and De Los Santos, you're not stopping Zepeda out the blue, bro. It's not happening. And then Tevin Farmer came out and said they ain't even test them. They ain't test both of them. So now that got me thinking something weird going on over there. I don't know, man. It's just a lot of stuff, man. I've been seeing a lot of stuff, Clay. I'm telling you.
You've been sitting quiet in the background, just watching the game move around, huh? Just like,
man.
He's like, wow, that's interesting. Oh, look, what the hell's going on over here? Like, you ever see that Instagram video with the guy who comes up to they shoot him doing a bunch of different things, but there's a specific one where he's at a construction site and he's just sitting there quiet, and he looks over and one guy is like emptying out the cement in a weird way and hurting himself, and the other guy's over there going up the top of a building, and he just kind of like catching stuff because he's in there quiet, just watching all the antics going on in the workspace. It sounds like that's what you're basically saying, that there's a whole lot of outside elements that you're just taking into consideration now because you're just looking quietly now, not necessarily.
No, facts. And like another thing, like Shakur, he know. Like I don't think he gonna be the same again. Honestly, I don't think he gonna be the same. Like for real.
It does. You're right.
Where's that coming from? Somebody got something going on in the background. Is it here? Okay, it was too rich. It was too rich. All right, go ahead, Ray.
I'm sorry. I said, yeah, I said it's gonna. No, it was me. I cut off. I said it's gonna either make him better or it's gonna take him or it's gonna slow him down. It's gonna be one or the other. And here's what I think: if Shakur doesn't go in that fighting like Sugar Ray versus Hearns won, he's not gonna win this fight. I'm sorry. I'm going to put it out there right now. He has to go in there and swing those hands. He has to throw those hands. He has to put punches and bunches, and he has to land and make him Zepeda respect him. If he doesn't, I'm sorry.
Fights.
Yep, and that's the key to me.
Yeah, it does seem like the gray area for Shakur, and what we see happening with Shakur is going to be based off of that hand. If that hand is in the proper shape it needs to be, so he can deliver the power that he says he can do, it's gonna make the biggest difference. When we're talking about Shakur, we got to look at that hand. He just had surgery. I'm not making excuses for him, but he's saying basically that the reason the last 7 fights those injuries were there is because he wasn't taking the proper steps at fixing the injuries. Right? He never wanted to get the surgery. He wanted to be active. He didn't want nothing holding him outside of the ring for any predetermined amount of time. But that's why they said him hurting himself during a training camp, getting ready for this Joe Cordina fight that didn't happen. They're trying to say that that may be a blessing in disguise because the injury got so bad to where he had no choice but to get the surgery. And they're looking at the recovery to be a successful one. And if it is a successful one, then maybe we'll see a Shakur Stevenson of another era or time period resurface and make boxing more interesting when we're talking about Shakur Stevenson and the fights that he's involved with. You know what I mean?
Can I ask a question to the panel? Should Shakur in a fight like this, should Shakur come out and just try to land a big shot right off the gate and just make his presence felt so it makes Zepeda respect what's coming into that fight and make him a little shook and let him worry about what's coming with big shots?
If he have it in him, because I feel like he gonna be more scared of hurting his hands again more than anything.
Anybody else?
I think Zepeda is one of those fighters that ain't for the antics. I don't think you landing a big shot on Zepeda is gonna make him chill. Exactly. I think he's just gonna keep coming. He's gonna stick to the plan. He don't know about all that. He's not into it. He's not there to be fooled. Like De Los Santos was kind of finesse a little bit. Ain't no finesse there for Zepeda. He don't believe you. That's just how he's gonna move. Even with because when you look at him when he was with Tevin Farmer gave him plenty of reason if he was gonna question his offense to question his offense. I mean, he knocked him down. It didn't matter. Williams Zepeda kept on the same way until the end of the damn fight.
And I was shocked by that. I was shocked. I'm like, Tevin?
Were you really, when you think about it though, when you really think about it, Hood Rich, Tevin the dog, man.
Yeah, he is though, but he's not known for that. You feel me?
No, he's not. But his last couple of fights, he's been fighting that with like Moratala. You know what I mean? Like he's been showing this. And let me tell you something else that's very interesting about Tevin Farmer. Greg Hackett said about 8 months ago. Greg Hackett said, "I've been watching Tevin Farmer in the gym. Like, y'all about to see another Tevin Farmer." And this was in the fight when Tevin was getting ready to fight. Who was he getting ready to fight? You know what? I ain't gonna lie to you. He was getting ready to fight Raymond Moratala, but it was like months before that. And he was like, "Yo, Tevin looking crazy in the gym. Like he got a whole dog in him right now." And I was like, "Damn, is he saying he got stronger? What is he looking at?" When I saw him fight against Williams Zepeda, I thought about Greg Hackett. I'm like, this is what he was talking about right here,
bro. And then he keep on getting the short end of the stick because he the B side. I don't like that, bro.
Did you think he won that fight?
No, the not the Zepeda. Well, the Zepeda fight, I feel like it could have been a draw at least, but the Moratala fight, that fight, I was like, wow, like, you feel me?
Hey, but look, let's check this out, Ray. Hey, let me ask you a question real quick. You say, can Shakur just come out and hit Zepeda? Shakur, he don't have the weapons to do that. Shakur is very measured. So if you see Shakur, you don't see his head over his feet. To land a big shot like that, your head got to be over your feet, meaning you kind of got to use a kind of bad angle when you kind of like just throwing that haymaker. Well, Shakur head is never over his feet, so he's too measured. But if you look at Tevin Farmer, the success he had with the left hand, the problem was he wasn't able to follow it up with like an uppercut. That's what you're gonna need against Zepeda. You're gonna have to hit him with that left hand and catch him with an uppercut. You're gonna have to put 2 or 3 punches together to stop him from getting off his third and fourth punch. So he's gonna be there to be hit. I think this is Shakur. I do think it's his Jamel Herring, Oscar Valdez type fight where for Shakur to beat Zepeda, I think he's gonna look like a monster if he do it. I mean, he's gonna look really, really good.
I got a question about that. If he ain't gonna be able to do that, then how he gonna stop Zepeda? Because he's not gonna do that. He not gonna stop Zepeda by just throwing a lot of punches. Because Zepeda gonna come right back with it.
Yeah, but he gonna have. That's why. Well, I start off by saying Shakur gonna have to sit down on some of them punches. Meaning he gonna have to look to stop Zepeda. That's the only way you're gonna stop Zepeda output. You're gonna have to stop him. I believe Shakur can. I believe he got the tools to do it. He gonna have to do it. And this the fighter that's gonna make him do it, or he gonna lose, or he gonna lose. Yeah. And if he want to lose, then that's fine, you know.
And it to me, it got a lot to do with where they have the fight at. Is it going to be on the Golden Boy or Top Rank? Because that plays because
that fight's gonna happen. That fight's gonna happen in Turkey, bro. That's gonna happen. I mean, not in Turkey. It's gonna happen in Riyadh, bro. It's gonna happen on a Turkey card, bro. It's gonna be an even playing field. It's gonna be Turkey hosting that fight. He's gonna be the one paying those guys. He's the one putting the bag out there. He's gonna be on that territory.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
Turkey's the one financing that. Turkey's gonna have that happening right in front of his people. Like, yo, you bringing that over here, bro.
If Shakur don't make him miss how he do with everybody else, and they see him throwing 100 punches per round, I might bet with Zepeda, bro. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding, bro. Like how boxing been looking lately.
Yeah, Shakur gonna have to make a statement, and that's why I love this fight, man. I love this fight because it's gonna force that man to barbecue a meal. You know what I'm saying? Like you either gonna be what you've been saying you're gonna be, or you're not. William Zepeda is not for the antics. You're not fooling him. You're not fainting him into some weird position. You really don't care like that. You really don't care about all that.
That's why we don't let the fight go 12 rounds. We not letting no fight go 12 rounds straight up because we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Look, this is why I said Shakur need to come out and do what Floyd did to homeboy Ortiz. He just need to just punch him right in the face as quickly as possible while the dude even getting a chance to get his hands up and try to put him out. It doesn't matter what power we think he has or doesn't has. He need to just hit him before he gets hit. And that's the only way that happens. That's the only way I can see him going down like that, man. I don't see any other way. If he lets this guy, like I said, if he lets that guy start that motor, you know what I mean? Unless Zepeda hurts his hands, it's gonna be a long day in the kitchen, bro. I'm telling you.
I don't think so. I think Shakur can break him down. I think Shakur has the ability to break him down and stop him in the mid to later rounds. He can do it. He can frustrate him. Let me tell you something, bro. All that will and all that strength and all that Terminator shit is all cute. But I don't care what nobody says, man. A punch in your nose is a punch in your nose, bro. A punch in your eye is a punch in your eye. And when them things accumulate, the nose start leaking. It gets a little harder to breathe. The mouth opens up a little bit. The body shots start to make a difference. Everything starts to accumulate and compound into a problem. If Zepeda is not effectively stopping Shakur from being Shakur, if he's not effectively doing that, Shakur can weather Zepeda down in the latter rounds. He doesn't need to not one knockout punch him or hit him with some crazy shot to set the. He doesn't need to do that. He needs to be. I'm gonna tell you right now. Shakur loses. He better lose being him. Because if he goes into that fight against William Zepeda, altering who he is, because it's going to show fear, it's going to show doubt, and he's going to get exposed because he's going to be fighting like somebody he's never fought before. This is the reason why I'm kind of looking at the Stephen Fulton, Brandon Figueroa fight. I said Stephen Fulton to me is fighting in a different way right now. This is a new Stephen Fulton.
He shouldn't have changed his training. He messed up, bro.
I get it. But Claymore, we already seen Shakur. When he was fighting De Los Santos, we never seen him like that before. We never seen Shakur run around like that before. Jumping back. He was like a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, man. We never seen Shakur like that.
But he has excuses. the excuse is that he was hurt. He has these excuses about why he looked the way he did. Whether people want to believe it or not, supposedly that Shakur was looking like that for a medical reason, for a reason that, like, he had issues, which is why he looked like that. Right now, he doesn't have the excuses. He has the surgery's been done. If he's not ready for this fight with Williams Zepeda, by the way, I want to go on record. If Shakur Stevenson is not ready for Williams Zepeda in February or in March, whenever the fight's supposed to happen, don't go in the damn ring, bro. Push the fight out, because we're not going to hear your excuses about your damn hand in this fight, bro. I'm going to tell you right now, the boxing space ain't going to hear that. It's not going to work. So if you're not ready, if you are not 100% who you were supposed to be in this fight, don't even bother coming into the ring, bro, because nobody's trying to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's trying to hear it. Rachel Dornaire said she expected his recovery to push him out towards the second half, to the second, third quarter of the year, and he's coming back real quick. So I hope he's on point. But there will be no excuses that night in the ring. You know what I'm saying? But Shakur Stevenson needs to be himself, bro. Who he is, who got him to the big show. Shout out to Mike Tyson, one of my favorite lines. Shakur better lead that dance when you brought him to the dance. You know what I'm saying? You better lead the party when you brought him to the dance, because he's going to regret it if he loses this fight and he tried to become this brand new version of himself. He's going to go out like Devin Haney did against Ryan Garcia. He's going to go out trying to be somebody who he's not, and he's going to get exposed. Who he is going to have to be enough to get him to win this fight.
Hey, let me say this, Clay. What has happened? We had balled Shakur. A lot of people, not me, but a lot of people have balled Shakur whole career down to the Oscar de los Santos fight. And like you say, they're not giving him credit for being hurt in that fight. So if I would say this, if we look at Rayo versus Pitbull, Rayo beat Pitbull easily, handedly, no issues. Well, we saw Tank struggle with Pitbull. Well, most people say, well, Tank's hand was hurt. You see what I mean? So we got to give Shakur the same credit. So what I'm saying, if we pull the De Los Santos fight out of there and look at the rest of the fight, Shakur can fight, man. Don't fool yourself to think that Shakur is De Los Santos. That's the only Shakur it is. I think Shakur can stop. I think he can stop him, but I think this the guy that you're gonna have to stop. It's set up for Shakur to look great, but he got to make that determination, you know. And I think he will. I think he stops him. I think because he don't have a choice. If he go the distance, I got Zepeda.
I agree.
And
I don't think it's. Let Hood tap in right quick, because I know he been almost there and he ain't been able to get it out. Go ahead, Hood.
He not stopping Zepeda, but why you think that Tank struggled with Pitbull? Because he ain't knocked him out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle. He couldn't knock him out. I mean, you know, Pitbull, like, he was in that fight, the whole fight, you know. And plus, he said his hand was hurt. That wasn't no easy fight. Now, like Rayo just dominated him, like Pitbull wasn't even in the same class.
Yeah, I think Jesus. Hoodrich. I think what he's basically saying is, whether it was the injury or wasn't the injury, that fight was a struggle for him. He was in pain. You saw it. His hand was hurting. He had to adjust and fight that dude with one arm for like the whole second half, damn near that fight, bro. That had to be a struggle in comparison to other fights where he had both his hands. You know what I'm saying? When he was able to do it if he won.
Yeah.
No, he right.
I think. Yeah, I think the comparison is, if we're giving Shakur the same, we got to give him the same reasons and doubts that we gave Tank in that fight. I get it. So yeah, like I said, he has to equal the high punch output. I'm not saying he has to throw 1,000, but he definitely is going to have to be on his A game of getting his punch count out if he's going to have any chance to win. He cannot be on the back foot. I promise you, it's not going to look good for him. He's going to have to be a boxer that night. He's going to have to get in the kitchen. Like I said, he's going to have to cook. If he doesn't, then he's just going to be another chef out on the street, man, and we're going to be looking at Zepeda as a new champion. I don't see it any other way.
And if that happens, the boxing world going to flip upside down, man. It's going to flip upside down. But I really want Shakur to win the fight, though, just so I can prove everybody what I've been saying for years, man.
Don't you tell me that, Hood Rich. Don't you tell me that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm gonna say, Hood Rich, right? You had the opportunity to pull this guy in the ring. He said, "Sub me in, bro." He asked for the tag in. Loma pulled out, and they told him they was going a different route. He didn't bring nobody to the table. They just did that with Frank. That was the coaches. Now I'm not saying that's true or not true on if that's how they really feel or there was something else going on behind the scenes because we're not there. But what was reported and what was said in the media from the coaches and from Shakur's side, they didn't offer him that fight, and they should have.
From outside, I heard that it was something about talks, but I never really asked about it because the fight gonna happen 2025 for sure. But
Okay.
I just hope he win this fight though, because if he don't win, I don't know if it's gonna happen. He probably gets fight Keyshawn. I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Thanks for the gym.
Let me ask you this, Hoodrich. I know you close to that camp and everything. You close to Tank. And we're getting ready to see these guys. It looks like the rumor is Barclays Center, March 1st. That's what the rumor is. They're talking about rolling out an actual official rollout and announcement in the next week or two. That's what Steven Espinosa and Leonard Ellaby seem to be professing that it's going to happen. And it is going to be Lamont Roach. That's the fight that it's going to be. It's going to be Lamont Roach. That's a fight that's going to happen. Let me ask you, I'm going to go left field a little bit with this one and see if these dots connect anywhere. Rayo Venezuela not fighting Issac Pitbull Cruz as a rematch on this undercard on a David Morrell. How does that sit with you guys? Like, you know what I mean? And the reason I'm asking is because Rayo supposedly wasn't going to be able to fight Tank because he had to do this rematch clause, right? But to see him not fighting Issac Cruz, Issac fighting Angel Fierro, and I don't know what's going on in Rayo Venezuela, but if he couldn't make, it just shows that he clearly didn't have to fight Issac Cruz. How does that sit? Does that look weird to you guys at all? That Rayo Venezuela is free now, and he could have been the fight for Tank, or did it not matter one way or the other?
They do, man. One thing about Robert Garcia and them, bro. They know, like, they don't want to fight for real, bro. They don't want to fight. Like, they talk. Like, I feel like they be saying stuff just so the spotlight can get on them. And, like, you feel me? Because Issac Pitbull Cruz, I feel like he wanted the rematch, but he wanted to take a turn up first. Like, somebody that fight like him. You feel me? Because he wasn't comfortable with that fight. He wasn't comfortable. Like, he couldn't hit him. Like, he was like, man, like, he was getting frustrated. So, Rayo and them, if we even send them 20, 40, 50 million, they not gonna fight, bro. They don't want they ain't gonna fight, bro. They not gonna fight Tank.
I'm gonna disagree with that, bro.
Yeah, me too.
Does that fight happen at 135, 137, 138, 140? 35. Where does that fight even happen at? 35. So that could be, but in all due respect, you have another champion, right? And Rayo. Why does it have to happen at 135? Because he's the A side? I mean, wouldn't it be fair to say for Rayo, like, I don't have to take this fight if I have to go to 135. I'm a champion as well. Respect my title like I respect yours.
I mean, yeah, but we don't need to fight Rayo. We don't need to.
Right. It's an opportunity.
And vice versa, right? And vice versa. Okay.
Yeah, vice versa.
I mean,
that's what I was getting at.
We don't need to fight them.
I do think the right contract being put together, the money being right is one part of it, which I don't think is going to be too much of an issue, hopefully. But I think the weight class does make a difference. I think Rayo cutting down to 135, he's not going to want to be depleted in any kind of way. He's comfortable at 140. He likes what he was able to do at 140. He likes who he sees himself at 140 being as a champion. I agree with him saying, listen, we fight at 140. We don't need to fight at all. I'm just now getting some light. I just now got some momentum under me. I knocked Chris Colbert out. I made Issac Cruz look bad. I'm a champion. I don't want to go backwards, get knocked out or stopped or something happening with you at 135. If it happens, challenge me for my belt or allow me to move forward and chase unification and chase bigger fights at 140. But I did think it's interesting that Rayo Venezuela and Issac Pitbull Cruz are not doing this rematch cause like everybody thought it was. I am hearing from my connections, and I don't want to talk like I'm the connected guy, but people who I know in the space are basically saying Issac Cruz did not take that loss very well with Rayo Venezuela, and that he was super interested in getting that tune-up fight in. He didn't like the way that fight made him look. I heard he had a lot of anxiety, and mentally he just didn't deal with that loss well. And they look like they want to build his confidence up a little bit, give him a tune-up fight. But ultimately, that fight is going to come full circle to be a fight that we see, or we should expect to see, is Issac, Cruz, and Rayo Venezuela at one point in time. Obviously, taking into consideration that we're expecting Issac Cruz to be able to beat Angel Fierro, who he has on his schedule right now to fight. So we see what Issac does. Super interested in what Rayo Venezuela is going to do with rumors of him and Gary Antoine and stuff like that. I think that's weird, but that's what I'm hearing. We'll see if that's what it is. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Coach Eddie, though, because I know Coach Eddie was trying to say something.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like I said, I kind of want to give a little pushback with the Robert Garcia thing. Robert Garcia's history, he's never had a problem putting his fighters in with anybody. He never had a problem with watching his fighters get beat to death. You know, he'll sit there and them guys will be dead. He'll send them back out there. So I don't think it's a problem of them not wanting to fight. I think it's a problem of maybe the weight, not wanting to come down to 135. My thing is, I'm not a fan of a bigger guy calling out a smaller guy. It makes no sense to me. It always, to me, it should be the other way around. The smaller guy calling out the bigger guy, wanting to move up. You know, if you want, I mean, I understand the money. Yeah, you want to fight Tank, but at what cost? You're not going to be at your best. You're going to be depleted. You know you're going to have to fight on his terms, so you're not going to be at your best when you're fighting him. Yeah, I know you want to make the payday, but I mean, come on, why would you drain yourself, you know, to go fight a smaller guy? I was always under the opinion that the smaller guy called out the bigger guy to prove himself. It doesn't prove anything for a bigger guy to drop down and be the smaller guy. That guy coming down from 147, challenging Tank at 135. You know, it doesn't make any sense to me, but I understand the money side of it. But as far as Tank is Tank. He's an attraction. He does what he want to do. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I just think we got to accept it. You know, to me, the fight to make still is Tank and Shakur. That and maybe possibly Keyshawn. Those are the fights to make right there. Those are the fights that are right there in your neighborhood. I don't see these guys. I don't think these guys at 140 should be going chasing a Tank Davis. It makes no sense to me.
No, facts though. No, I mean, like, no, facts though, but this ain't nothing new. Everybody bigger than Tank. Lamont bigger than Tank. Like, it don't matter. You feel me? Like, we signed up for what we signed up for, but I get what you're saying. Like Robert Garcia said, but like you just gotta watch him sometimes. Like, somebody from his camp was supposed to fight Keyshawn. Never happened. But like, even back in the day though, like back in
bad connection. I wanted to ask Hood Rich about what he thought about Keyshawn and his performance, and what he thought about Keyshawn Davis. Did he think it was crazy for him calling? I wanted to ask him all that. Hopefully he comes back on. I know the connection looks like it went bad. Listen, man, guys, I ain't gonna lie, we're about to wrap it up soon. I gotta get ready, chill a little bit. I gotta go do today. Interesting conversation. I love the panel today, man. Great panel, as usual. The only person that was missing from this panel today was Echo, but outside that, we had Coach Eddie, we had Two Rich, two of my favorite panelists that come up here. You guys always building, always dropping jewels, always contributing to the experience up here, man. I appreciate it. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know what you got going on over there, but it sounds like a damn sonogram, like a baby sonogram or something. Like I'm listening to a heartbeat.
Yeah, I hear it too.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in that background, but it is resonating out here as a lot of traffic. But yeah, man. Look, man, great show today. We didn't have a lot of people really show up today, like I'm used to. I mean, I'm used to seeing more people, but I'm still good. I'm happy. We got to talk about boxing, break down this David Benavidez situation, Rayo Venezuela, Issac Cruz, Stephen Fulton. Talked about it all, man, and that's what it's all about, man. I love this sport. I love to talk about the sport with people who love the sport like I do, man. And let's see what the coming weeks bring us. So we can talk about it. Tomorrow we'll be going back up, same bat channel, same bat time, around 10:30. We'll be kicking off. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure you hit the likes if you haven't hit the like yet. If you guys aren't subscribed who's in the chat, please subscribe. I'll build the channel up, man, and come check, and put notifications on as well. My wife will come and tell you guys to make sure you guys are getting notified when we're going live, and check me out on Blue Blood as well, man. Put me on a little bit later today.
And shout out to Miss Rain in the building, regulating the chat for real.
Yeah. She said, "What's up, Ray?" All right, man. All right, everybody, man. I'll let you guys close it out and say something if you want to say something. Too Rich, say something so you can go put yourself on mute, bro, because I'm tired of your background music. What you got?
My background, man.
Man, you got a whole harp here.
Oh yeah. I don't hear it, so I don't know.
It's because we're playing in the background. I can hear everything that's going on the YouTube.
Oh man, I didn't know that. Yeah, man. But yeah, a lot of good boxing coming up, man. And like I say, the landscape is changing. I think the boxing universe is no longer just operating around Tank Davis, but there's other players in the game. Turkey, now even Jake Paul. You can get on a Jake Paul card and make some money. So I think these fights are going to spread out a little bit, man. So I'm just looking forward to it. That's all I got.
No doubt, no doubt. Salute to you, Too Rich. What's up with you, Coach Eddie?
Yeah, same thing. I want to echo that sentiment. Glad boxing is in a good place. We got a good fight in December. I was looking forward to seeing Tank fights. I guess we'll have to wait a little while longer, but it is what it is. We got, Issac versus Tyson Fury. I got Issac in that fight, and we got David Morrell versus David Benavidez. That's another great fight. I'm looking for Morrell to pull off the upset.
Yep, me and Carl Hitchens. Yep.
Yeah, Coach Eddie, we got Liam Paro and Hitchens, and we also got Robeisy Ramirez and Rafael Espinosa, which I think is once again is going under the radar. I don't know why it is, but that fight was a crazy fight last year, and they're going to fight again in December, man. So.
And one more thing, I was wrong about Tevin Farmer, and I was wrong about Zerto. Zerto looked good, man. He beat the brakes on that guy.
We was all wrong on Zerto.
Zerto looked great. That was a good card, man. That was a really good card, man. And
it was.
Zerto looked great in that fight, man. He really did, man. I mean, he made that. I mean, you can tell he came up from a smaller weight class and was able to use his footwork and maneuver around that bigger guy, and just really did a job on it, man. So shout out to Zerto. Shout out to Malik Scott. I know he's in the camp, man. You want to give him some flowers, you know what I mean? But hey, good call, good boxing, good show, Claymore.
Man, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you guys. Ray, you want to close it out for us?
Yeah, first I want to start off with this. I hope we don't get a situation, if this is true, about the announcement and the Barclays Center, and we don't get another situation where Roach is in the building and they cancel the location. At the same time, I do want to shout out boxing for what it's done this year. I do want to put on record that as though I am disappointed in Amazon PBC collaboration, I do respect them getting off the ground and laying the pavement down and starting to build the road. Hopefully it turns around in 2025. It looks like it's going to be a successful year. They already got 2 cards apparently lined up for the first of the year. Hopefully we get some free cards. This will be good for boxing. Another settlement I want to do is I am disappointed in the PBC from November all the way down to December of the last month, where we were promised about 3 or 4 fights, including Earl Spence, Tank Davis, believe there was Benavidez, as well as the Charlos, and we have not received those fights. I think these guys are waiting and anxious to get in the ring, and as fans, we are anxious to see them fight. We are disappointed on that note, but you know what? You can't get everything you wish for. Hopefully, everything works out for these guys, and next year is a great matchup for them. As far as Top Rank, I just want to say, whatever doesn't work out with you in ESPN, hopefully you find a new home, whether it's on YouTube, Netflix, or some other app, maybe a Top Rank app. Maybe all the boxing collaborations should make a boxing association app, and they should all merge there and have their fights there, where we can just watch like a boxing.com or pay-per-view.com type thing, where we can just stream fights. It'd be good for boxing. It will bring all the boxing fans to the house, and all these fights can just be free, on a weekly basis until they get a pay-per-view event, and then we go from there. Salute to everybody. Thank you for having us. Please, again, hit the like button if you're here for the first time. Subscribe. If not, just hit the unlike button. Everything matters. It shows us that you're here. But please hit the like button. Don't hit the unlike button. But if you do, we understand. But at the end, please just comment if you want to. Let us know how we're doing. Give us some feedback so we can actually give you guys better information and do the best we can. I think we're pretty good on information, but we'll take any advice we can get. Salute.
Salute. Salute you guys. Peace out, man. To the next one.
It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment. I swear I could levitate.
Yeah.
They never believed that I would really fly. I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate. Elevate. They hate when you elevate. Elevate. Yeah. They hate when you elevate. Elevate. They hate when you elevate. Yeah. I had to elevate. Ooh, yeah. Why they wanna bring me down? So much drip, yeah, I almost drowned in it. I can't come it down. Yeah, I'm way too fired up. I can't slow it down. Ooh, yeah. I see the flashing lights. Make sure the fashion right, yeah. I'm in my bag tonight, yeah. Ooh, I might just pull up a foreign. Watch out, the engine is roaring.